everyone. Madam Chair Kirby is out sick tonight with sick children, so I'll be running the meeting, so here we go. So first point of order is, let's see, to approve the agenda. So we need to look at pages 1, 2, and 4. We have many revisions for tonight's agenda. So are we starting with that first?
I move that we approve the revised agenda for tonight's business meeting,
Okay.
as revised on our copies.
Great, so do I have a motion to approve the revised agenda?
I just got.
You did that, okay.
We need a second.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
All right, David seconds that. All right, and so next, Dave, would you like to do the pledge of allegiance, please? I'm sorry, hold on, we have to vote.
Yeah, any discussion?
Okay, all right, so all those who approve, sorry about this, guys. So all those that approve the revised agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, so let's do the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I know, we're a close-knit board.
I just want to make sure. So should I go through this first?
Yeah, there's the letter.
Okay, so we'll do that
Read
first.
it, yeah.
Okay, so first we're going to do our recognitions. It is Teacher Appreciation Week. And so the resolution, Teacher Appreciation Week resolution says, whereas teachers mold future citizens through guidance and education, and whereas teachers encounter students of widely differing backgrounds, and whereas our country's future depends upon providing quality education to all students, and whereas teachers spend countless hours preparing lessons, evaluating progress, counseling and coaching students, and performing community service, and whereas our community recognizes and supports its teachers and educating the children of this community. Now be it resolved that the Parkrose Board of Directors proclaims May 6th through 10th, 2019 to be Teacher Appreciation Week, and be it further resolved that the Parkrose Board of Directors strongly encourages all members of our community to join with it, personally recognizing and expressing appreciation to their teachers for their education, their dedication and devotion to their work. Adopted on this 22nd day of April 2019. Okay, and we'll work on that later. Great. All right, so who will do our presentation? Okay, all right, so we have some presentations coming up, so we're gonna start with our ASB report. See what we're gonna do.
Good afternoon, we're from ASB. My name is Ayla Costa and I'm the president.
My name is Julie Hott and I'm the vice president.
So to start out, we have leadership. So leadership has been focused on the decorations and getting all the things done for prom that's coming up. We have recently come up with a new thing called Night Gala that we tried really hard to get. And we have been encouraging students to go all out and show up to class for better attendance and to promote prom better. And we will also be focusing on Teacher Appreciation Week, which is next week.
For sport-wise, we have our boys tennis, which they were 3 and 4 in preseason. However, they're starting off strong with 3 wins and 1 loss for regular season. The team will be celebrating their 13 seniors at the end of the month, and all the varsity players will be participating in districts. For girls tennis, they were 4 and 3 in preseason, but it's currently 4 and 0 in regular season. They're also currently ranked first in our conference, and the team will be celebrating their 14 seniors this Thursday in their last home game against Hillsborough High School. Other varsity players will also be participating in districts from May 6th through 8th at the high school.
For softball, the girls team is currently 0 to 4. However, they have been continuing to practice for the regular season, and they have a lot of underclassmen and freshmen that joined this year, so the team is bigger now than ever. The baseball team has had a good season so far. They have been working on bonding as a group and improving their skills along the season, and their next game was today against Hillsborough.
For track and field, the team has been improving every week, and they're at their strongest. There are 3 students at the moment ranked top 5 in the league, 2 seniors and 1 junior. They're looking forward to making it and to staying, being able to keep improving week by week. They are also currently practicing a lot of their upcoming meet this week on Wednesday at Wilsonville. For clubs leadership, Key Club AYS, BSU, MECHA, Pacific Islander, National Honor Society, and many other clubs are beginning to plan for our Multicultural Festival Night. Multicultural Festival Night is one of the biggest events that is hosted at the high school every year by all of the clubs. We're expecting more than 500 attendees this year.
For choir, we have been working extremely hard on sight reading and music theory in order to keep improving our skills along the year. The choir program has qualified for state, and we are currently working hard to go to state. And the Debonaires will be competing this Friday for state and will be singing on the 5th to honor the World War II vets. And for band has also been working really hard on improving their skills daily and always performing for our school events. That's all.
Great, thank you, ladies. I would like to have the board make comments, or anything would you like to say?
Just very proud of you two
Thank you.
and the participation that was taking place at the high school in so many different areas.
Thank you.
Nice job.
Eric?
No, thank you so much for coming today, guys, and we always get inspired by your presence, and we hope that you continue to do such a positive job in your community. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your updates. Good to be abreast of what's going on in the high school.
Yeah, thank you for the time of hearing the reports. I love hearing about what's going on at Parkrose. So you ladies have 1 or 2 more reports left. Can you have one more?
Is it 1 or 2? I'm not sure. Probably 1 more for me. Okay.
All right, great, thank you, ladies.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, up next we have our music education. Miss Lee.
Oh, it's not yours. Are you gonna, you're virtually me? Yep. Or, and okay, okay. So we started this presentation, we're gonna show you a couple of quick snapshots of each building and a snippet of video. So you can see what elementary sounds like in the music room. So Sacramento's first. David is new to us this year, doing a great job over there, and we have a clip. Oh, did I say Sac? Oh, sorry, you're a shaver. Sorry, Sarah.
This one's mine.
Sarah, is that Sac? And we're going to see 2 short clips if you click to the next one. So this is a performance of Funga Alafia.
5th graders at the school.
Thank you for the drums. And then go ahead. Some folk dancing.
Face your partner. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Make an X.
Okay, so, okay, then at Russell, Mike couldn't be with us here, so he's got a couple of pictures up, and then his video is working with the marimbas. And if you saw the big bass marimba in the back, we all want one of those. Okay? We do, we really all want one of those. That's really hard to travel around the district, so if we could just have permanent installations, that'd be cool.
Would it be okay if you guys introduced yourselves?
Oh, actually, I wanted to, they sort of like,
So
you talk.
please introduce and then we can keep going with the presentation.
Oh, David.
I'm David Schmitz. I'm the new music teacher at Shaper this year.
I'm Kylie, I'm the band director at the middle and high school.
Sarah Berniza, music teacher at Sacramento.
Hi, I'm Emma Nissen. I'm the choir director at the middle school.
And I'm Leslie Bosser, the oldest teacher at high school. Just kidding.
Mike Tolan is at Russell, and he couldn't be here, and I'm Carolyn Langston.
Thanks.
Okay, sorry. Okay, so moving on to Shaver, we have a video, oh no, we just have photos from Shaver this year, and we are going to have a great video from him next year. And then at Prescott, a little sample of the ages here, and then you're going to see a classic children's circle game, and Sarah's son starring in it.
So this is middle school band. My video for the high school is a little longer, so I didn't do one for the middle school. But yeah, you can just see all the different things we've done this year. So we had several students go to honor band. We performed at our festival this year, 63 students on stage, and we actually were the 5th highest score of the day out of 15 bands, which we were really proud of. Actually, might have even been 16 bands, which we were really proud of because we were the only 7th grade start there. Every other school starts in either 5th or 6th grade for band. So we were really, really proud of that we had a lot less experience, but we still were top 5 scorers for the day. This is our 7th graders. There's 96 in that band. They're split between 2 classes, obviously. And then we had, every year we invite our 8th graders to come up to a pep band game. And so with our high school band and the 8th graders, there was over 150 kids in the band that night, which was really fun at a varsity basketball game. That's band at the middle school.
And then choir at the high school. We've represented at 2 festivals now after 3 or 4 middle school.
It's okay. I messed it up too.
Middle school, yeah. Just keeping it on a roll. And so, a little picture of us on our way to our first festival, which we ended up getting the top score of the day, which was really, really exciting. And then we got to go to a high school festival, which was really cool for the kids to get to see beginning high school choirs, which will be what the 8th graders will be in next year at the high school. And we actually got to sing with Milwaukee High School because we did one of the songs that they did too. So the judges were like, come up and sing with us, which was a really cool experience. Yeah. You have a video, right? Yeah. And here's a little clip of our concert.
So this is band at the high school. So we try to get around and perform for the elementaries every year. We haven't made it to Russell yet this year, but we've made it to all the other 3, which is a great experience for the kids. And that's a picture of our halftime show at a football game. We do marching band every year for football season, and then also this year we'll be in the Grand Floral Parade, so that's exciting. And then the next slide I think has a video, yeah, but we'll wait a second on the video. So that's us at one of our festivals up in the top right, and we actually qualified for state at 3 different festivals this year, which was a huge accomplishment because we've only ever, last year we qualified at one of our festivals, and the past 4 years, 3 years before that we didn't qualify, and so it was really exciting that all 3 festivals this year we qualified. So we are getting better every year, which is great. And yeah, our concert band this year had 74 students in it, so that's our younger band at the high school, so that was great. That's us at state last year, so we're crossing our fingers that we'll get to go this year. There's 17 schools vying for 12 spots, so we'll see if we get to go. When you click on the video, if you can go full screen if you don't mind. I was just squishing everything onto one So yeah, when you click on it, then I think you'll have the option, hopefully, yeah. So this is our top band in high school. So crossing our fingers for safe.
Well, this is the choir at the high school. The Debs have been busy all year. That's a picture of us downtown at the Great Figgy Pudding Caroling Competition. It was just a blast because they were all a cappella groups. I don't know, there were like 20-some all over by Pioneer Square. It was really fun. And they have been all over the place performing. They are performing this Friday at state competition. They have 2 groups going. We split them, men and women, and they both are going to state. And then we have a duet that's also at state, so I have 3 groups on Friday, which we're pretty excited about. On Saturday, I have a student that's actually in the state solo contest, also in Pacific. And at the same time, we're taking our kids to the Portland Girls Symphonic Choir workshop with an internationally known composer, Lee Kesselman, who will be their person that is amazing opportunity for these kids. So we're both taking all of our girls down there, both Saturday and Sunday. So we're really, really busy all year. And there's the choir, the A choir qualified for state also 3 times this year. So it's a very dog-eat-dog world in the world of choir, let me tell you. All 8 schools in our league qualified, so it's horrible, but it's great. It's wonderful. I mean, I love contests, but I really think seeing the kids grow is what it's really all about, so for me. And that's us somewhere. It's okay, we were asked to also present our vision of what comes next. So we'd like to propose that we get our kids singing at every school, at every age, at every level. Parkrose kids really like to play instruments. And that's great, but we also need to keep them singing.
Increased FTE for secondary music, so we are really tight on our space for kids, especially the middle school, to be in band and choir, and we really just need more FTE to be able to get more kids in choir and band at the middle school. And of course, we'd love to see 6th grade band come back in the future. We'd love 6th grade choir opportunities, so we're just hoping that that's going to be down the road for us, more FTE for secondary music, especially at the middle school. And along with that comes a full year music elective for 6th graders. So this year 6th graders don't have a music elective at all. We're going to get that back next year as a 1 trimester thing, but we'd love to see them being able to have an opportunity to do music all year, whether it's band, whether it's choir, whether it's both. So we would like to see that in the future.
We'd also like to propose a district-wide fine arts festival, music and visual arts. I attended the Heart of Portland celebration last week and thought, well, there's more to Portland than just Portland Public Schools, and we really need to celebrate what our kids do here too. So I'd like to put that forth, that we should pursue something like that for Parkrose too.
And we have some funding in place that was instilled a couple of years ago for instruments and curriculum, and we just really need that to continue, if not even increasing. Every penny has been used every year, and we just desperately need that to continue, if not to increase in the future.
And
yeah.
as always, we need your support and appreciate all of your support that you always give us. Our programs are successful because of you.
Thank you so much for what you guys do. It's tremendous to see everything going from elementary to the high school. I commend you for all that you do for our district and for our kids. I'd like the board to speak to individually. Where did you want to start?
Let's get in those drugs right away, man. Honestly. So thank you so much for coming and presenting. I mean, it's so important for us as a group. Music teachers, come and tell us what you guys need. And you know, as the board, like, we have a lot of things in mind, and we're trying to hunt down the legislation so they give us more than what they're promising, because that's what they need, that's their job. And they haven't done it for over 25 years, maybe 30. So we hear you on that, but it's also so refreshing to hear it from the teachers who are there at the front line, at the trenches, come in and tell us, because that we can keep that in our minds, that, hey, you know, we need to make sure that all kids have access to this. I love music. I've seen so many music programs throughout the state, and I really appreciate what you guys do, what you've been doing for so many years, and thank you for coming today and presenting with us.
Huge supporter of music, so, and K through 5, it's great that we have that in place with the art tax.
Yes,
And we
thank you for
supply
the art
one through the district. When I came to the district, 6th grade band was a reality. We had it, and it's truly missed. It's that hook, that connection piece from K-5. I'm glad that we're itching towards it, but we need to actually have it a full-time staff in place at the middle school to give you a great guide. And, so it's one big program, middle and high, and it needs to be split up for sure. I want to acknowledge, because I was part of the Music Boosters, and shameless plug, but Script is a great way to support the music program, and they do a wonderful job using Script, and it's a great fundraiser. So thank you.
Mary Lou?
Guys, if we're gonna dream, let's dream, grades 4 and 5 have band in the morning. Well, and then choir is a given, is it not?
Well, we have to schedule time for it. Nothing's a given.
I know that, but my dreams are given.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm gonna dream with you. I like this.
Well, which brings me to, there was no appropriate way to tell you, but this, you gave me the way to do it. I absolutely love picking up the email on Friday where your kids were, what were they doing, dancing or singing?
Oh, the one I said accidentally to the whole district?
You made my day. You simply made my day to watch kids so joyfully. And looking at your videos, looking at your photos, all of you, and you can convey this to him, please, because the video already knows how I feel. What you add is so important to the overall learning process. And it does make a difference at the elementary level. And it makes a difference at the middle school level. And you succeed the success playing out at the high school level. And I know it just wasn't music, but I had taken a friend to Willy Wonka. That was one of the most amazing high school productions I have ever seen. The caliber of the orchestra in the pit. The singing was absolutely amazing. The sets were fantastic, but the joy those kids demonstrated as they were up on that stage, and the excitement and delight in the theater of the parents, grandparents, all these other sundries who were there, it leaves a lasting impact. So thank you, and I wish that music was in Let Student Success Go. But don't give up, we've got the art tax.
Yeah, and again, I want to just commend on the work that you do, and I know that, a dream of mine is that we start earlier, with our instruments. Starting in 4th and 5th grade is really vital. Our kids are competing against kids that have a 2 to sometimes 3-year leg up, and it's, it's an equity issue. But it's amazing the work that you're able to do with that, starting at later. It's amazing you're placing 5th. The kids have had an instrument for a year or 2 years. So I commend you for that. What I'd like for you to speak to, and maybe recognize the parent support that you have. Give an amazing parent support. If you could maybe acknowledge who's here tonight.
Oh, absolutely. We have amazing parent support here in Parkrose. We could not do it without them. So we have Sue Roofsome, who's our Music Boosters president, and we have Stephanie Diaz, who is a parent of, she comes to all of our boosters meetings, but a parent of several band students. And is there anybody else out there that are not singing? Yeah, but they're amazing. So thank you guys for being here.
Thank you, everybody.
Can I say one thing really quick? Thank you, the presentation's lovely. We can definitely work on number 4 sooner than later. I think that's a really wonderful idea.
That costs money though too.
Yeah, it does. And collaboration time.
I want the board to know that the reason I really wanted our team, and it's truly a team to come present to you, is that we do need an articulated pathway, and it's only partway there. And I think it's important that even when we don't have the funding, that we remind ourselves of where we want to go, because when we get the opportunity to repair and put back some of the things that we used to have, we have our professionals ready to go. You can see they have a plan, it's articulated. We know exactly what we need for our kids. And so as we do go through this hard time where we're cutting the budget, do know that there is another end to this, and revenue can be used for music.
Yes, it's in the ES.
Yes, absolutely. And so I think that there's opportunity around the corner, and the hardest thing is just being patient. But thank you for all the work, because you do well beyond what everyone in this room knows. You put a lot of work in, and you're one of the few adults that see hundreds of kids in your day in our district, and we just appreciate how much heart and soul you give them through the music. So thank you for coming tonight and taking your time to be here.
Thank you.
Up next is Elevate Oregon.
All right.
Could you introduce yourselves?
Yeah, good evening, everybody. I know you guys are used to seeing Donnell up here. Well, I got good news. You won't be seeing him up here. Give you a little break. Instead, I'm in this place. My name is Minraj Nye. I'm the program manager at Elevate Oregon. I have Sarah Doherty, who's a teacher mentor, and at Parkrose and Elevate All-Star, Amaya Warner. And so, I can sit here and just tell you guys what we do. And what we're about, but I'm afraid that it doesn't do it justice. And so instead, I think we'll show you.
I'm Sierra Green, but I go by Cece. I'm 15 years old. I live with my dad and my 3 sisters. When I was 4 years old, I think, my mom, she was 25, and she had 5 kids by then. So my dad helped her by taking in me and my 2 older sisters. My dad wanted us to see something different. We were just only used to poverty mostly. So he wanted us to get out of that and show us there's a different way to life than what you guys see out here. That was his main reason why he moved us from Atlanta, the poverty, to Portland, kind of the poverty, but where you can make it out and get a better education, you know? My dad, he's like, honestly, I don't think I could be as strong if it wasn't for him. I've blamed a lot of stuff on my dad, which I shouldn't, like, you know, this is why my mom's not here, or like, I blame myself. But really, all my dad ever does is just try to take care of us. He tries to do his best to put food on our table or try to pay the bills even when it's hard. And me, to be honest, I feel I was always his harder child. Well, we can't have this, and you see everybody else got that, or, you know, dang, Dad, why I gotta go do this? You know, sometimes I have to realize he's one person trying to take care of 4 kids on his own. He's done it for 12 years. Like, he can keep doing it now.
Tell me about school for you.
School, I guess that's my only way out. So that's why I be like, you gotta go do it. I don't come from like a family that can just go send me off where I want to go, you know? And I'm in a lot of programs at school where they can help me. I'm in Elevate, where they take you to colleges where you can meet the administrators. These are my supports that's going to help me get to the place that I want to be. I want to be a pediatrician or a nurse practitioner. That's a lot of money in school. I don't think, you know, my family, they can all just help me. That's why I say school is my main priority.
If you could isolate one person other than your dad who makes you strong and gets you through it, who would it be?
Definitely my Elevate teacher. Paul, yeah. He reminds me of my dad. He's so on you. He's caught me a few times skipping because the teacher irritated me or something, you know? And he's like, your class is not out here in the hallway. What is you doing out here? And I'll be like, dang, now I'm in trouble. And he's like, go to the class and go do the work. You're not going to succeed out here playing. He really pushes us. Today, we had a study hall. And you know me, I just be talking. It was like, what's Snapchat got to do with that biology test on Friday? I was like, Paul, leave me alone. I'm just trying to see. He's like, well, no, you don't need to see. You need to go do that biology review sheet. I was like, you're right. You know, he's from Washington, D.C. He saw a lot. He sees us failing. He's like, you don't want to go that route. Show people that you're a successful Black woman, young lady, you know? I've always had my guard up. When I was down, I always was like, well, dang, I wish my mom was here for me to talk to her about stuff like this. When I would go to like boy stuff, I'd be like, dang, where's my mom for me to say this to her, you know? My teachers, like my dad, and then they would see me like that and they'll be like, don't hesitate to come talk to me. But I didn't feel that they would get it. But then Paul, he had one time caught me mad. He was like, talk to me. You know, I was like, well, I don't know, because I'm not really like that person that opens up. And he was like, well, I'm not going to judge you about anything that you've done, you know, or any person that you've messed with. So I feel that's why I opened up to him.
When do you get to talk to Paul about things though?
Like in lunchtime, all the Elevate teachers, they're in their office. Or they walk around, they make sure, did you eat today? At them times, they'll be like, you okay? Like, what's wrong with you? They find time for you. I'm gonna just be honest, I really grew up angry, looking for a problem. I was always mean to my sisters, but it was because I really was hurt in the inside. I can say that now, like, I always felt broken. I was like, why God make me a little bit poor? Why God didn't give me the new phones, the new shoes, both of my parents? I would always keep my anger inside. I never wanted to talk about why I was so mad or so mean. When I was able to let that out and open up, I wasn't afraid to be me. Because I feel what makes me me is my honesty and my openness about who I am as a person and my background. I wanted to be like everybody else. I would try to go wet my hair every day to get like white girl hair, try to go tie my shirts up at school to get the new outfits like hers so the boys like me more. My dad was like, you know, don't be afraid to be yourself. And when you're okay with who you are, you're not going to care what everybody else is doing. And then I was like, well, if multiple people has told me this, maybe I should really listen to it, you know? And I feel that's really helped me open up to be who I want to be. And I'm a real good leader. When my friends are hurt, they come to me, Situ, what should I do? They always come to me and I'm like, dang, what I got that y'all always want advice from me? And then I look at the adults that I have as role models. I'm like, now I see why everybody always come to me, because I get the advice at a young age. Teachers don't really understand what struggles you're going through at home and why you need homework in school because you can't go do it at home, you know? Elevate, they don't hesitate to ask you, are you okay? And they're going to keep pushing you until you get to the point where you're all right and you're not able to fail in anything, even in life, family, whatnot, you know? Especially Mr. Donnell, even though he's not in our classrooms every day, he's gonna text you, well, your grades aren't looking right, you need to go stay out there with this teacher.
But you've got school counselors to talk to, so why do you need Elevate teachers too?
I like our school counselors, but they'll just be like, well, you need to go figure it out. You need to go take this class anyway. Our Elevate teachers, they're different. They don't make you feel like, oh, well, you should have not waited the last minute. Paul, he'll walk with you to that class. Well, my student needs to stay out there with you for a week. He made me stay out there with my biology teacher for a week because I had a D in her class. And he made me get it up until it was to a B. Our counselors, they want you to succeed too, but they want you to go out there and go do it on your own. I'm not saying our Elevate teachers, they hold our hand through it all, but they're here making us stronger and making us want to go strive for what we really need, you know? A lot of people, they always say like, because they don't see what's inside our classrooms, they're always like, Elevators are bad kids, or like, Elevate, y'all don't even be doing nothing, you know? But you have to come inside the classroom and you see like, we actually learn about life.
So does it feel good to you to know that there's a man like Donnell looking out for your girl at school? Or?
Yeah, it does. You know, we live and work in where it's, you know, predominantly white, and just so my kids can see just a person of color who cares, a person of color who is there for them and maybe can understand some of the things that they might go through, who nourishes you outside of the home. I'm just dad.
Yeah.
When it comes from somebody else, I believe it means something. It means something to them too.
I feel my dad's a strong person, even though sometimes he might get frustrated because he's going through a lot. And we put more on him, you know, when we ask for stuff or when we try to go do things. But my dad's a cool person. He's very talented. A lot of his music that he's wrote gets real life stuff that we've all been through. When you guys hear us sing, you might hear it like kind of shaky because it's like, dang, this is really about us, you know, this touching, you know?
I'm blessed, so I gotta thank God for showing me the power of love. I wanna thank y'all for being everything Father dreamed of. Dedicate my life to y'all, sacrifice to y'all, so at the end of the day I'm not a man with regrets.
All right. See, I told you it would be better if me saying talking about it, right? So yeah, that's what we do. Basically, in a nutshell, we alleviate barriers so they can elevate better. Oh, that was good. I just kind of I freestyled. And you know that's just the tip of the iceberg. You know, we do so much more, and I wish I could explain that to you, and I hope this video kind of helps you guys understand what we do. But we also, I mean, we have first-hand experience of what we do, and if you guys have questions for Amaya and Sarah, they can speak better to the relationship they have and how well we do what we do. Yeah? So.
Let's start with Mary Lou. Any questions? Any comments?
That video was profound, beautiful, amazing. Hopefully it will be on our website.
Absolutely.
You do something, and you're right, you take the barriers away so they can be elevated. Ladies, thank you for staying in Elevate and for continuing to share what you have learned. The more barriers we take down, the more opportunities our kids have. And those barriers need to come down.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for coming today, guys. It reminded me of when I went to high school. I went to David Douglas High School back in 2000s, and there was a program called the Oregon Council for Hispanic Advancement, and they had Proyecto Conexión right there at the high school, similar to Elevate. And I remember how important it was to see somebody of color. And David Douglas High School back in 1999, 2000. You know, it was hard for, you know, maybe 25 kids of, you know, Latino descent, walking around, you know, at the 3,000 student high school. And they were able to, you know, organize us, have a club, take us to activities, summer especially. I remember I got a computer from Intel through this program for participating. I'm just so glad that we have it in Parkrose, and then that you guys are taking advantage of it. There's a lot of great opportunity for growth, and at the same time for you guys to stem out and use the resources that are there for you to help you. The counselors are over demanded. And this is just the system that we have in the state, is that we haven't paid for our kids for so long that we have way too many kids and not enough counselors, and not enough teachers, and not enough custodians, and not enough janitors, not enough of anything. But it is people like you who will eventually vote, and you can help us turn that tide so that more kids, younger generations, they get what you get today and even more. And thank you so much for being part of Everyday Oregon and keep inspiring your community as well. Thank you.
Thank you for coming in and shedding the light on because you come in once in a while and visit the board and give us a nice presentation, and it's a wow moment, and it's like, that's what they do. That's right. Again, it's not that we, personally I forget. It's just more of the stories that you guys, the people you touch. The positive. It's just so positive. It's such a positive program, and I'm so happy that it's here at Parkrose. You guys do a wonderful job. Thank you for
Yes, thank you for being here and sharing. I know personally firsthand what Elevate does. I've worked with my son for the past couple of years. What I'd like for you to do, if you could, in just a moment, just tell us a little bit about what you do in terms of the program, because I know you do that beyond the school year. You have support programs during the summer, and you also connect with families as well. Can you speak a little bit to that?
Yeah, so aside from the in-school class that we have a program year-round. For example, in the summertime, we have 2 transition programs. 9th grade counts is helping the 8th grade transition to high school. Then we also have a 5th and 6th grade transition program that's going to help the 5th graders transition to 6th grade, because those transitions are very important. Sometimes, unfortunately, kids get lost in the shuffle, and I think that with programs like these, it helps them stay on track. And we also have a basketball camp, community basketball camp that's open, and we'd love to see you guys' faces out there. We have a barbecue on Thursday. You can't turn down free food, right? So we also have that in the summer. So yeah, it's really year-round. And we always like to say we start off the year in the summer, because that's usually our most busiest.
Yeah, I just have a question for Sarah and for Maya. What does Elevate bring for you? I mean, what's one of the advantages that if you didn't have Elevate, how would that impact school for you?
For me, Elevate has helped me bring out more of my leadership skills. And I was really shy and I didn't really use them a lot. And I was told growing up, if you have leadership skills, you need to use them. And before I was in Elevate, I didn't know what that was or how to use it. And then when I got into Elevate, they pushed me and they were saying, hey, I see you and you're doing good. Like, you need to help out your classmates. There's a couple of your classmates here that could use your help. And I started branching out more and I started using those skills. And now what I used to do.
Thank you. Sarah, as a teacher mentor, I'm just always curious. I've had lots of conversations with Munroth and Donnell, but just from your perspective, what do you need? I mean, what do you need more of? You're in a unique position and you're working, really teaching kids, but yet you're working for Elevate, but also you're partnering with Parkrose. So how can we do a better job of supporting the work that you're doing for our kids?
I think just support. I think as simple as that is, I think that goes a far, long way. Getting us out there, knowing that we are available for, because our group, there's a good handful. I've got 17 freshmen, but I know there's way more out there that I wish would know. I know they see our office, I know they see our name, and a few of our kids will let them know, but a lot of them don't know. So I think letting them know who we are, and I think putting our picture right on the school website has helped, because I've had a lot of people be like, I've seen you on the website. I'm like, oh yeah, that was me. So that's been able to kind of open the door of conversation about what we do, because a lot, as you see, a lot of people see us and see the name, but they're not sure what it is. So helping branch and communicate with people about the importance of what we do is very important, because me and Amaya, we met 8 months ago, and our connection has been amazing. It's like we've known each other for years, and I would love to hands-on do that with a lot of the kids I see. And I even talk to kids and connect with kids that aren't in Elevate and that don't. So just keep bridging that gap between connection with them is very important for me. So, yeah.
Thank you so much. for
Well,
taking the time.
can I say one more thing?
Yeah, of course you can.
So, you know, it's not an easy job, right, to do this kind of stuff. And it makes it harder sometimes when we isolate ourselves. And I say that to say that when jobs like these are huge, it really takes a village, right? And I want to thank the district for letting us be a part of your village, because it really does make a big impact. And so I just want to say I appreciate you guys and thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Michael, a question.
Mary did have a question.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's Michael's fault. Mia, you are a high school student right now.
I'm Sarah, and I'm the freshman teacher mentor. I know I look like a high school kid, hence why I
Okay,
carry my
no.
keys on me at all times. That's why at all
This is where I'm
times.
getting lost. So you're
Yes.
the freshman mentor.
Yes, yes.
And you currently are a student at the high school?
Yes. Yes. She's one of my students, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
you are a freshman.
Yes.
Student body president in 2 years?
Yes. We're gonna get her there, yes.
Guys,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for taking time to come tonight.
Yeah,
Really
absolutely, appreciate it.
All right, so up next is community eligibility provision.
Good evening. My name is Brent Hoover. I'm the Chartwell's district manager, and my role is to support Tracy in her efforts. And I appreciate the partnership that we've had over the years with the school district. So I just wanted to say hello and introduce myself and be available for discussion. But I'm going to turn it over to Tracy to make the actual presentation.
One of the changes to the board agenda is the resolution that will actually put us in a contract with Chartwells for another 4 to 5 years. So it was the addition to the, so instead of them staying until like 9 o'clock, whenever that would come, I asked him to just speak for a few seconds, so we would handle those back.
Thanks, Reed, for that correction.
Well, I'm Tracy McDougall, and I'm your Nutrition Services Director, and like Brent said, I'm with Parkrose. But community eligibility, if you're not familiar with that, that is where we get the opportunity to feed all the kids in the school. It's free to the parents, and it's free to the parents because they don't have to pay for their kids. Up till last year, we had Prescott and Shaver and Parkrose and Russell and Sacramento and the middle school all on community eligibility CEP. Last year we had to take Shaver off. It's a 4-year eligibility, and so they expired. Russell came off, and so did Shaver. And what that meant was now our families needed to pay for their lunches. Breakfast we do include it for free.
Sacramento and Russell.
Sacramento and Russell. Sorry. Yes, then. So what we've seen with that is we had a 30% drop in children participating, and we've also had a lot of families continue to eat for free without paying, because that comes along with another house bill. So it's that time of year again where we need to reassess. And this year the middle school will come off, well, it is scheduled to come off. But based on the numbers that we have seen so far, it looks like we will be able to continue the middle school on it. It's not going to have a very high percentage, but at least we'll be able to continue on that. And what that means is we'll be able to continue to feed the 800 kids there, and then hopefully not incur any shaming debt as well. One of the things that we are going to look at, and we're continuing to, and a kind of a timeline for this is in April 1st, we had to pull all the numbers. We now get to assess and see where we can go with it. We have to turn in what our assessment is by the end of April, and then put an application in saying that we would like to take the entire district CEP. community eligibility. But that's really gonna depend upon what the bottom line is to the district and to make sure it's not putting the nutrition services fund into danger and into debt, because that can't happen. So we are continually assessing these numbers. We can bring back more updates and that, but we just wanted to let you know that this is where we're at in that process.
And do you have to fill out an application for the process?
We will.
Excellent. When will we know?
We will fill out the application within the next couple of weeks. It needs to be in by May 1st. We're gonna hear more back from the state. Right now, the state and I are going back and forth, because this is what our reports are showing, this is what their reports are showing. And we will have a final okay, and a final decision will need to be made by June 30th.
So this would be out before the next school year, if it happened. Information would be put out for the next school year for parents.
Yeah, ideally, we would like to know exactly the way we're gonna be able to go, so that in June, we can put that information out, let them to know if we will be able to go CEP or if we'll continue on the path program.
So I did have a question about, you mentioned a 30% reduction, and that's students that are not eating lunch. Are they bringing lunch? Do you have?
Yeah, we're hoping they bring lunch, yes. But, so participation, we fell off 30%, which means that the kids were eating for free before. And then we don't see them participating at this point. We will never turn a kid away for not being able to eat or for any reason.
Just one last question. About 5 or 6 years ago, some numbers that came out from the Free the Loose launch was that the high school students were the least likely to eat lunch at the high school. Is that still the plan?
That is still one of our challenges. It does have an open campus, and so I'm trying to attract the students to stay with us. I have a few things in place, it's kind of rolling around in my head right now, in order to elevate us to really compete with the Wendy's and the Burgerville and everything across the street. Hopefully a free lunch, as opposed to the $7 at least that they're gonna drop in each of those, will attract a few more kids.
No, I'm just keeping my fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Very hopeful. It'd be a really great thing for our families if this worked. I know you know that. And you have less control of whether it's approved or not, but I appreciate you. I know that this takes number crunching and creativity, and I just appreciate your efforts with that and bringing this to the board tonight, and we'll hopefully have good news to report before the end of the fiscal year.
Thank you so much. All right, we are going to take a 5-minute break. I'm going to start off with Michael.
Yeah, before we address the consent agenda and formally have you look at new hires and resignations and extended travel and a review of minutes, I wanted to take a moment to introduce my recommendation for our new Director of Student Services, who will be replacing Michelle Markle. Sadly, we're losing Michelle, but I think we're getting a great person to come and take her place. So Julie, would you just take a minute to introduce yourself?
I'm Julie Sams, and I'm currently a school psychologist on special assignment working with Michelle. And this is my 8th year in Parkrose School District, but I think my 20-something year in this county. So I'm really excited to kind of pick up where Michelle left off and keep our vision moving forward. So thank you for the warm welcome.
Thank you for being here. Appreciate that.
So for the record, we need to revisit the consent agenda. On consent 10AB, please note the correct spelling of Karen O'Neill's name. Last name is O'Neill, O-N-E-A-L. Under number 11, Board of Education, letter D, NSBA conference report by myself and Dave Carter. Again, under 11, we are adding 11G, MESD Budget Committee update, and adding 11H, Regional School Board Equity Group update. Under action items 14, we are adding 14C, 2018-2019 district calendar revision, and 14D, RFP nutrition services. so we need to have another motion. Would you like your motion to approve the agenda as amended?
Aye. I so move.
I'll second it.
All right, so Eric motioned and Mary Lou seconded to approve the agenda as amended. Do I hear any discussion? All right, hearing no further discussion or hearing no discussion, all those in favor of approving the agenda as amended, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. All right, motion to approve the amended agenda passes by a vote of all three. Okay. All right, so now we're going on to the PFA monthly report. Brett Davidson, is he here tonight?
So Brett is not here tonight, and he has submitted a written report. Do they have a copy, Andrea, or do you want me to? Oh, there it is right there. So it looks like he's shared quite a few things. I'm not going to read line by line, but I would just ask that you take a moment to read Brett's report. I will be reporting on one of the things that he's discussing, which is Wednesday, May 8th, in my report here in just a few minutes.
Andy, is there more?
So, I guess we'll start at this end, but Aaron, if you have any questions or comments about it, can I have that in the record?
No, I'd just like to announce that I will be joining the teachers on May 8th, and I hope that this brings some additional boarding for the district. We really need it, and I hope that we can start turning the tide towards more favorable conditions for all the students, not just in Parkrose and the entire state.
Do you have any questions or comments?
Yeah, number 6.
Yeah.
Is that just, usually it just comes out around this time?
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, that's a great question, Dave. Specific to this year, due to the fact that we are facing reduction in force due to our budget shortfall, we ask principals to hold off on announcing grade level assignments because there is potential movement that will occur for teachers, and that those notifications will be provided April 30th. So our contractual obligation is to notify of any risk by May 1st, and then the assignment piece will follow that. But there's, unfortunately, there's some moving pieces that the district wants to be sure that are in place before we secure what exactly people are doing next year. Great.
Mary Lou?
I too, Eric, will be joining you on May 8th. And I think it's imperative that people know that teachers are not sitting at home watching game shows. They will be on Burnside, and then after the Burnside stint, they will go downtown. But they will be out publicly demonstrating the fact that we need funding. And the other thing is that this foundation greatly appreciates the fact that they blocked 2 tables and also an ad. So greatly appreciated.
So, no further questions or comments, we'll move on to the OSEA monthly report. Richard?
I'm sure it's all cheese. Scratch it. Good evening, everyone. Let's see. First of all, since we were just mentioned the May 8th event there, I'm assuming that in Michael's presentation, when he talks about that, he'll talk about the impact that has on classified staff. It's a rather interesting situation in that, certainly we fully support the thought behind the action, you know, the intention, what they're fighting for, is something that, you know, matters to us greatly as well. But in terms of how it affects us, it kind of is something that happens to us that we don't get to create, you know, what's happening. So it's going to have some interesting effects, and Michael and I have already had some conversations, and I suspect those will continue as far as how we will get around some of the complications that will cause for our classified employees. Next, before I forget, I just want to say I will not be here next month. I will be many hundreds or thousands of miles away. I'm actually taking a vacation, and then I come back from vacation and go straight into surgery for my shoulder, and then recovery for that, and then furlough days. So I'm going to be gone for like a month. I don't know. It's like, but I think Christine's making me come into work 1 or 2 days in there somewhere. But anyway, so I will not be here at the meeting next month. I will see if I can convince one of my trustee officers to be here, but sometimes that's a hard sell. I will try to remember to submit a written report. The other, of course, big thing we have, I just today printed out some tickets for our classified aid benefit, you know, the big party we do every year. May 10th again, May 10th, Friday, at the Rossi Farms Barn. The tickets are going for $10. If you buy them in advance, you get a free beverage with that, beverage of your choice. And if you buy them at the door, they're still $10, but you don't get the free beverage. So there's a little incentive to buy them ahead of time. Maybe later tonight when we have a break or after the meeting, I'll stick around. If you would like to buy 2 or 3, however many tickets, at least 1. I expect all of you to buy 1. But I also want to say, you know, we have a basket in the PEF auction this coming Saturday that will include, I believe, 4 tickets to the event. So you could also bid on that, or convince your wealthy friends to do so. Bid and bid often. But I also want to just throw it out there in case anybody's interested. It is obviously a fundraiser. It's for our Employee Assistance Fund, as I've mentioned before. And as such, everything that we can get donated to help run the event is one more thing we don't have to purchase, and therefore drain some of those funds off the top. So if any of you, either personally or if you have connections through work, friends, wherever, that would like to donate things, we, obviously we need things to help run the event itself, primarily food and beverages and, yeah, those are the big things. You know, and then supplies, plates, napkins, whatever. But also then we do some raffles and silent auctions, so we need things to raffle and to auction off. That's what Sheree and I were just discussing. And then of course, we're never going to turn down cash. I mean, I'll just come out and say it. And whether that's money that we use to help purchase the supplies that we need for the event, or just money that just goes into the fund, to help out our classified employees when they run into financial difficulties. We will always accept that. Unfortunately, one thing that does make it a little harder for us to get donations from community businesses and whatnot is that we are not a nonprofit, let me rephrase that. We are a nonprofit organization. We are not a charitable organization. Therefore, we cannot, a receipt from us does you no good. It is not tax deductible. But it is, I promise, for a good cause, and it is well taken care of money. We have worked really hard to set up the practices to be good stewards of the money. So anyway, that is what I have. I will be available later to sell some of these tickets to you, and to anybody out here, of course, as well. $10 plus. All right.
Thank you, Mr.
For your information, last Thursday I was at the RGA planning meeting in the middle school.
Right.
And I was talking to Karen Sheedy. She's the Gateway Brewery person.
Yes, yes.
And then we were joined by a group of the farmers, and I want you to know that I was promoted.
Thank you.
So was Joe Rossi.
Yeah. Joe's been really good, and when we went to him to see if we could move our venue to his barn there. Gateway Brewing donated some beverages for us last year, and they have committed to giving us some this year as well. We'll add to it because we don't expect that it'll be enough, and some people like other things than just the one thing that gets donated. So we'll have some variety.
Sodas.
Well, yes, among other things.
Water.
That too.
First of all, I wish you, speedy recovery, in health, most important. I see you for forever, like since 2013, and I appreciate the optimism all the time, and you being here part of our meetings all the time, more often than not. So I wish you the best on your recovery, and more than willing to donate, and if you have the square, do you have a square? Like the thing that you have for the cell phone and you connect with and you swipe it?
Oh,
we don't have one of those yet?
No,
Okay,
unfortunately.
Then we just connect when I see you again. Yes.
We'll get it.
We'll make it work.
We'll make sure.
But thank you so much for all you do.
And also, we'll, she doesn't have them yet, but Susan Fox here at the front desk will have some. So if you're not able to get them tonight, you'll be able to get them from Susan anytime you come by the DO.
I'd like to echo Eric's comment. I've known you for years. I don't think I've ever seen you take so much time off. And this, well, you need the time, and so you take the time, and you do so much for the district. So thanks.
Yeah, my nephew's graduating from high school back in Wisconsin, so that's the vacation, and then got to do something about this.
I have a great therapist.
So do I. The one that got me through this 17 years ago that we're having to now redo. But yeah.
I did want to ask just briefly about the usage of the fund. Have you been able to meet the needs of members this year? Have there been a lot of requests for funds?
There's been, so our event last year didn't raise quite as much money as we had in past years, although it did okay. We usually get around $2,000 a year. Last year, I think we earned something more like $1,400 or $1,500. So we had to reduce the amount that we give out this year. In past years, we've done usually $300 per person per year, and this year we've had to reduce that to $200. The number of requests, we started off pretty good in the fall. It looked like things were going well, but then people got hit with, not only their Christmas bills, but at the same time unexpectedly low tax returns. And so we've had a pretty good increase through February, March, and into April. The fund itself is down to where we could probably only fund about 3 more requests before it's gone. So we haven't been able to help as much per individual, but we have been able to give out that $200 to each individual who needed it.
Thank you.
Hey, Rick. Let's get it on the camera.
All right. Is that for two?
Yes. Now the math. Yes, it's at the math. Oh, just keep going.
Okay. All right, so next is the non-agenda and consent item citizen comments. So if you wish to make a comment before the board, please fill out a comment card. And I see we do have a citizen comment card. So we have Valerie Schiller, who's here to make a comment. Come on up. Did I pronounce your name right?
Yes. Hi, I'm Valerie Schiller. I introduced myself last month as social studies and avid teacher at Parkrose High School. I'm also the brand new coach of the debate team that I've gotten started over the last few months at high school. I wanted to report on the district and state tournaments that students have attended as part of our new debate team. And specifically, there was a student that wanted to be here tonight to speak on her experience, but she was unable to, so I have a statement from her that I'd like to read out. So basically, this semester I've recruited 8 sophomores for the debate team. 4 of them attended the district tournament that went through, was at Lincoln High School and Cleveland High School. And then one of these students was able to go to state in a competition called Parkrose debate. And this was at Western Oregon University. This took place on last Thursday and Friday, 18th and 19th of April. And so the student that attended, her name is Amelia Bates. She comes to high school. And she had a really positive experience, and just some comments that she made was that people were very nice and helped me get a good feeling for what the tournament would be like and how to be a better debater. People took it seriously but also had fun and joked around. There were loads of humor in the hallways, but everyone took the event seriously. It was a good experience, and it gave me a sense of what, so something else that they got to do was stay in a college dorm at Western and really kind of get that experience. And so she said that it was a good experience, and it gave me a sense of what living at college would be like and feeling more prepared to live away from a dorm room. She said, I learned about a lot of topics that I was previously unaware of, including how the community is affected by those issues. And the issues she's referring to are the bills that students propose in the Congress debate event. And basically students listen in on these bills, they ask questions, and then they vote yea or nay on these bills that are put forward. So she learned a lot about these topics she was previously unaware of, including how the community is affected. For instance, how the government works to make laws for a better society. I didn't agree with all the submissions, but it was fun listening to them all, good and bad. She said, in response to any overall learning or takeaways that she received, she said, I love debate. I didn't think I would be good at it, but I am, I think. And I feel more confident at public speaking where I was not before. And then her mom also commented and said that I can really attest to the last comment. I have to say that I was a wee bit nervous when she said she was going to try debate. Speech and debate, I believe, is the official title, right? Because she is painfully shy about speaking in public. At her elementary school, she almost cried when she had to recite or speak at the class performances. I was worried that the pressure would get to her, and instead she feels like she's found a great set of skills that will take her far. She even said to me after the first event that she was so impressed with the warm welcome the older students gave her that she wants to be that person next year who can help the new and or younger students who want to give it a try. That's a big deal for us after her anxiety over speaking in front of people. She said, thank you, Ms. Schuller. So I just wanted to share that and just kind of say that it went really well, districts and state and the students enjoyed their experience.
It's so great to hear. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you so much for what you do. And I know, being surrounded by students sometimes can be challenging, and that inspiring so many to take this step, which is public speaking, probably one of the most feared sort of things that we have in the country. And I feel like top 5%. So thank you for inspiring me. Thank you for being there.
One of the things I'll be sharing at the NSBA conference, and I went to a social studies advocacy seminar, and I'm a big proponent of social studies, so thank you for what you do.
Please tell her how proud of her we are. To challenge herself in the manner she did takes a lot of personal strength.
Thank you, and I'm hoping to get a chance to see the activities in action sometime, so keep sending the information to you. Thank you, good work. Up next is the consent agenda. So these are items of routine business that require action but not necessarily discussion and can be voted on in the block. So if a board member wants to discuss an item, it can be pulled off the consent agenda and considered under its own motion. So we're going on.
We don't need to.
We don't need to go through that? Okay. I thought.
Madam Chair. I do have a question about board minutes 3/11/19.
Okay.
I don't have them on the big screen.
I know.
You don't have, okay.
On page 15, no, on page 4, under item 15, it said that I made them
That you made them,
remove
uh-huh.
the digital policy conversation.
Uh-huh.
Could we change that to persuaded? Because I don't know that I can
Deal.
make anybody do something on the official minute.
You got it.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything else that needs to have questions or discussion? Okay, so we will move on to.
Motion to approve.
Motion. Wait,
I
motion.
move that we accept the consent calendar as amended.
Okay, and a second?
Second?
Also, so we have a motion and a second to approve the consent calendar.
Any discussion?
Any discussion? Okay. Hearing no discussions, all those in favor of approving, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Okay, and that passes. So now we're on to, we're going to number 11, right? Board of Education. So we'll start with the committee liaison reports, and we'll start with equity, teaching, and learning. So who was
Equity, who said?
equity and teaching and learning?
Oh, that's me.
And community schools.
That's you and me.
That's why I looked over at you, so if you
Okay.
wanted to go first.
I was a year ago. We had a most interesting meeting. We broke into our small groups again, and we were looking at, Michael gives us very clear agendas to work from. And one of the things that we were working on was prioritizing activities. And looking at them from a high impact, low effort, high impact, more effort, low impact, less effort, and low impact, more effort. I know, interesting ways to phrase, what about this, what about this? If it's going to have a high impact and have less effort, is it worth something that we should do? And it led to some really interesting discussions in our small groups, and then we reported back as small groups to the whole. And looking at, you can't get away from the reality that no matter what committee any of us serve on, we have to deal with a 1.7 budget cut. And that has an impact on what we can do new and what we can institute. And I think people left the meeting feeling very empowered that we had had this discussion. And one of the things that came out was that literature training, particularly at the higher grade levels, might be something that we look at. That there's an art to teaching reading. And it doesn't stop at the primary grades. It continues on. And we were talking about time with cultural specific actions and how important those are. We did put in order some of the things that have appeared in the budget. And we talked about the importance of full-time EAs. And also about the negative, but how important it has to have to need to have those people there all day. So that's, we talked about better recruiting, and we talked about more school counselors. Talked about the structured SPED program that was presented at the budget workshop last Wednesday. And talked about having professional development be more culturally representative, and maybe looking at grade levels to do that on PD days. Talked about restorative circles at the high school and middle school. It was just a bevy of conversation. And it was good conversation.
Yeah, so I'll speak a little bit to that. I like the way that we've organized, the way that we could look at how we can make changes with a high impact, but not with a lot of effort or money. And then, of course, a lot of those things were things that we can, that are some of the really high wish lists, like the EAs all in kindergarten all day, Spanish speakers in the front office, looking at the way we change our homeroom, maybe doing restorative circles, and I know it's been working in some classrooms, and so maybe making that a regular practice and looking at how we can be really creative and providing that support for students, and then connecting with students that way and allowing them to have time to connect to that or to share, to be restorative. That's a really great start to making some changes. And of course, there are those things like PE in the elementary schools, more counselors, that's going to take more time. It's also going to be, it's more high impact, but it's going to take a lot more effort, more creativity because of our financing, our difficulties with school funding. So it's just great that a lot of these things that are on this list have come from the community listening sessions, talking to parents, talking to educators, and so my hope is that we're able just to start with a few things and start implementing so people can see a change. If made requests to see what concerns that they have, the things that they need to have in our classrooms, and to see that we're able to implement some of those things right away would be really impactful. And it shows them that we're listening, and we care about, what our kids are, what they need in the classroom. So we're doing some great things in equity, so it's pretty exciting. So does anyone have any comments or questions about equity? Eric?
No, thank you so much for attending. Besides, we don't have the budget for all the things we like to do. It's challenging, but there are things that low impact, low things, and some things that we can tweak around to make it more inclusive. Whether those are, I don't know, separations or sectors, and creativity. When we don't have all the means that we need, when we don't have all the magical ones to go around and turn tables into gold, piles of gold, and change things into Bitcoin and then play them. We have to be creative another way. And thank you for being there, and thank you for giving us. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you for your thorough reports. Gives me a better idea what's going on. And also the use of bevy. It's not used as often anymore as a bevy.
So what?
You use the word bevy, so.
I did?
Yes. A bevy.
Oh.
Just acknowledging it. So.
All right, David, I'm just showing my age.
What's a bevy?
I don't. Oh, a lot of stuff.
All right, so we'll move on to Educational Foundation.
Well, what a wonderful meeting we had. Michael was there, so I probably should have him share. But one of the things we went through was our board policy book on things that directly affect us, the board, and then how to throw paper around. I explained to the foundation committee that we only have power when we are together, and that we can't direct Michael to do anything without a vote and a majority vote. to either approve or disapprove. We also talked about the equity committee, and I did share with them the religious guidelines that Michael had given us at our working session earlier this month, and talked about that one of the things that they would see was that all 4 elementaries would be doing the same thing. So we would have some consistency, that this was being, the implementation was starting next year, but it would not be finalized and done, and this was something that would continue to grow. Went through what Solutions was doing, and also then talked about different meetings that they might want to appear at. They, of course, right now are focused on the auction, and if you guys aren't doing anything, we'll start putting packages together at 3:30 tomorrow afternoon in this room. And at 8:30 on Saturday, you can help us move stuff down to the Holiday Inn. I know that everybody sitting here, Sheraton, I know everybody sitting here has already purchased their tickets, so thank you. That is important. And then we talked about some things that they would like to focus on in the future. And one of the things that Michael brought up is very dear to my heart. It used to be that, this is before Smarter Balance came along, that you could not graduate from Parkrose unless you could swim the length of the pool. And you could dog paddle it, but you had to get from one end of the Parkrose swimming pool to the other end. And we're not talking the width, we're talking the length. And Michael was talking to them about, he's the aunt in High Hopes, about a swimming program in the future, and the foundation assisting with that. And that was what happened at the foundation meeting.
Eric, you have any questions?
Community,
Anything about the?
no, thank you for being here.
Dave?
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll do community solutions next.
Oh,
So,
okay, you and I.
So Eric,
I
you
think
go.
we'll-
Why don't you go first?
You go, I'm tired.
so I went to Community Solutions, and there were 2 conversations that really caught my attention. I think most of the people attending there, they all felt that they wanted to do more. And somehow we started the conversation of $14,000 of unpaid lunches by our students, and how we could all, like 6 schools, make some sort of plans in the future to raise the money to cover those needs. Now, I'm not sure how is that going to happen if we do qualify for the community eligibility program. I mean, that would probably, I would assume that we will still owe $14,000 for those lunches at one point. But I mean, it's a community solutions group, and this is a problem. And it's probably, we talk about, things that all schools could collaborate together, rather than, kind of like each elementary, each school to its own, but kind of coming together. And some PTO parents talk about having like a district sort of event to raise money. So, I mean, the ideas are out there. I'm glad that we have that group going, because we can bring challenges. And then I think once, like, people, if the neighbors are involved, and you will eventually start talking about the problem, and then people start coming up with ideas. I know somebody at this place who can do this or do that. I know a business like Mod Pizza right here, who can help leverage some fundraising power so that we can cover these needs. And it's just a matter of brainstorming and bringing some proposals to the table, and And hopefully some of the challenges that we see, you know, we can rely on this team to kind of, you know, figure it out, along with Michael, he was there as well. So I thought that was pretty cool. And another conversation was, we also talked about the religious protocol, the paper that we discussed. So, I mean, you know, it's not Michael's. I mean, in a way, he inherited all these miscommunications from previous years. There was one school in particular, Sacramento. They haven't had any celebration for 6 years. And just like, you know, 3 months ago, they had like some sort of Chinese celebration at Prescott. So the conversation looks different for somebody from Prescott than somebody from Sacramento. And it is perceived to community members in Sacramento that they get, you know, the stepchild treatment because they, you know, they don't get, you know, as many celebrations as other places. But I'm hopeful that this new kind of organization that we have, it leads for the PTOs and the principals to kind of develop a similar autonomy and similar program that can kind of go back and forth with Michael and kind of work together and bring people together so that, you know, the community feels that everybody is the same. That, you know, no one should be a stepchild in our district. You know, we're all in this together, whether, you know, we live next to each other or not. At the end of the day, you know, we're fighting for the kids. And we want all Parkrose students to have similar experiences. So I thought it was pretty cool as well. So I'm looking forward to meeting with the team next week, I believe, in a couple of weeks. Couple of weeks. And you know, pick up our conversations on those. And at the same time, you know, tell about, you know, the challenges of deep, you know, we have a challenge that most families come here because of proximity to Prescott. But maybe like we could rotate the community solutions to different elementaries. So proximity can also kind of help the Rosen families or, you know, Sacramento families and, you know, Shelter families. Because we just rely on a pool from one elementary, then it kind of deviates what is it like everywhere. But yeah. So I look forward to that in our 2 weeks or so.
Yeah, we made an agreement that we would take action plans to the board, so we would know what was going on, and that we were talking about in the fall having school cleanup before school started, and then maybe having a big carnival event at the high school to celebrate what all the different schools were doing. And Michael told us that he would come back to us with that. We talked about school celebrations, guiding the schools, utilizing our families to help provide ideas to the staff for holiday celebrations, supporting the teachers in how to do that. It was a very rigorous, positive discussion. And one of the things that I think I took away with was what Eric was talking about as well. And what I felt Michael reassured people that he's in direct communication with the principals and that we should see more consistency between the buildings in newsletters as well as how communication is done.
And once again, look, this is not Michael's, I mean, this is something that I inherited from previous years and we're trying to figure it out. But I'm so glad that Michael has the attitude and the optimism to, you know, bring us all together.
So Michael, do you want to wait to speak on that in your report, or do you want to speak on that? All right, so we're going to go quickly to legislative update. Does anyone have a quick legislative update?
So I received a call from a former board member at Tuitran in regards to the city of Portland. And she says that, and maybe you know more about it, Michael, but either the climate passes, we run out of them, or the city is not sending them. I'm not sure. I know the city is struggling financially, you know, city parks and recreations, and, you know, police department, everything. I'm not sure if it's that we run out of passes or they're not giving us anymore, or, but she called me and said, you know, can you bring this to the board attention that many families, you know, rely on those.
I can respond to that question. It's a grant that we were recipients of the grant, and we're at the end of that grant. We don't have any more passes for students. The city of Portland used to fund the bus passes, and we had a very short period of time, a 2-year period, where we were recipients of those dollars. Previous to that, it was just kids in Portland public schools that were provided with the passes. It is no longer funded by the city, and the city is not intending to pay for it. So really, the lobbying is at TriMet. And I know that the city is working. I was actually at City Hall today. I know that they're working with TriMet to provide those passes. We don't have a whole lot of leverage with TriMet at this point. I think that the city and TriMet are a little bit at odds. Do you want to add anything, Sheree?
Yeah, I got a call from TriMet this last week, asking us to meet with them. Nicole and a group of them, they've got money that they're going to distribute to schools, but they don't have a methodology yet. I haven't had a meeting with you yet because we're meeting tomorrow. He does not know about it. But we don't know what dollar value, we don't know the period. They have reached out to me and asked me, would I like TriMet passes? And I said, yes, I will pass go and please give me money. So, don't know yet, but we will not have any more money through the end of the year. What we have is done.
Yeah.
Is this something we can lobby with David Douglas as well and pull in together?
Well, I do believe that TriMet is including all of the city of Portland districts. That trend has changed from it just being Portland Public. So I would gather that Sheree will be with her colleagues from David Douglas and Portland Public Schools.
I will be.
To see how they're going to distribute the dollars.
2 years ago, we took them.
I'm reading your mind. I know what you're gonna say.
We took them on, and I'm trying to think what the organization was. She went down to San Francisco, but I think we really had an impact with TriMet at that time, that they could not pretend that other school districts were not in the city of Portland.
Yeah, it was the Environmental Justice
Yes.
Alliance, my son was on that.
Yes.
I remember when the city, he still know it was still on the city, and he said if we wanted those passes, we needed to give up our SRO. And then eventually, you know, yeah.
Well, we look forward to hearing about the update from Sheree.
In Portland,
We're looking forward to that. So we'll quickly go on to.
Sure, I would spend Saturday afternoon with 3 of our legislators. Quick comment. I was surprised at all 3 of them and how strong they feel about successfully passing the student success bill. It has to be a super majority in the Senate. We have some Republicans who are not being as positive as they could be. So we need to stay tuned because some names will come out. There's a senator in Scappoose right now who is one of the strongest no voters. No friends in that area. Tell them to call her. None of the 3 of them felt that hers needed to be talked about in relationship to the school funding issue. That they recognized it was an issue, but that it was separate, and that right now the paramount thing was to get it through and to be prepared for what Barbara told us on Wednesday, the petition drive to kill it. The other thing that they talked about was their concern that on May 8th, Southern Oregon would not have the participation from certified staff that the Portland area would have, which has an effect, of course, on legislators.
Did they mention that the person from Scappoose is the one that right now was the obstacle, or did they give you any?
No, they didn't give us any names, but it just so happened that the Oregonian ran a story, and they pointed it to her. She's not the only one, however. And so it is, I would tell you that the lobbying those three people are doing is super intense right now. And they're very hopeful that it will be out and on the floor sometime the 1st of May.
All right, so let's cut that off.
That's it?
Yeah. All right, so let's move on to the Oregon School Board members' color focus update. So I'll give a really brief update. I can share notes later. So we had a meeting this past weekend. We met in Corvallis, and the intentionality of that is that we are planning as a caucus to travel around the state and kind of have an introduction to other members of color who are on school boards and meet their counterparts in their districts. So we were hosted by Corvallis ISD, and it was Verena Chavarria, who is a school board member of color who was on the caucus and actually was on the trip with me to DC earlier this year. So we had a great meeting. We talked, we kind of reviewed our budget. We have our new budget proposals going to OSBA. We had committee reports. We also had travel reports. There were a lot of us that went to the national conference recently. We are also making preparations to have presentations at our upcoming OSBA conferences. So we have a speaker coming to the summer board conference, and I don't have his name here. I do have his name. His name is Dr. Marvin Lewis. He is going to be speaking about hiring teachers of color. He is a professor at Portland State. And this is apparently a first for OSBA. Generally, the summer board conferences are hosted, the workshops are usually hosted by OSBA members and staff. And this will be the first person who is not a staff person to be presenting. So this is, we're really happy about that. So we're hoping we can continue to get some more conferences, get some more workshops done for the summer. So for the fall, for the winter conference, we are looking at proposing 5 different types of workshops, and so we were just having a discussion about some of those. And so I'll have more information about that next time. So some of us are leading on those, and we have to submit a proposal within the next few weeks. Once we're approved, and then we put together a team of people, we can select a speaker, and then we start drafting our workshop, and we'll be presenting. So we're pretty excited about that. So that's all I have for that report.
Congratulations.
Any questions or comments about the update?
No, that is awesome. Thank you.
Okay, Dave?
Yeah, I'm glad it's becoming more incorporated. The BIN conference is good, and then of course the Northern Conference much bigger, so it's expanding. That's good.
Sonia, did you guys talk about OACC or OCAA?
OSAA, yes, we did. We celebrated. So yeah, we're very happy about that.
Okay,
Very
good.
happy. And I did share it on Michael, talked with, had conversations with OSAA and Mount St. Helens and St. Helens, and was able to get a lot of conversations started, and was released. And the fruit of that is having that legislation going to the Senate. So yeah, we're very happy about that result. So, all right. So next is our National School Board Association Conference reports. So we'll go over mine first. So what I did is I kind of gave a breakdown on looking at what types of things I wanted to learn about, what sessions I wanted to attend. So that list is a list of things I wanted to learn about: equity, diversity, school board, superintendent relationships, advocacy, law, legal, and policy, equity and councils, and then the bottom was governance and executive leadership. So this is a 3-day conference. It's a lot of training, a lot of workshops. What I did in my presentation was just break it down to 2 of the main speakers, and then and I highlighted 2 workshops that I attended. So this first speaker was our speaker for the first afternoon. I think it was on the Sunday. This is Joni Taylor. He's the CEO of SHRM, which is a Society for Human Resource Management. So he spoke on the perspective of employers, what they're looking for, and talking about that connection, what educators can do to help prepare students for the job force. So he just said some things that really spoke to me, and those are some of the things I have highlighted here. And Dave can probably speak to some of that as well. So no lack of financial capital. There is really now a lack of human capital. He's really talking about the capacity of the workforce now to actually do the work. There's a lot of jobs out there in the tech industry, finance, and just so many industries where the people who are applying for those jobs really don't have those skills to do the jobs. So he gave a scenario where you have a group of 100 high school students, 70% of them go to college, and only 48% of those graduate or finish college. So you have and then again, you have the skill and labor shortage as a result of that. He says students need to be learning by experiencing consequences. He gave an example of kids showing up tardy for school and there not being consequences, and kids not following through with projects, and there's no consequences to that. So we need to make sure that they have their learning lessons or learning responsibility. They have consequences. It's only going to make them a better citizen, a better employee as well. So he spoke about the need for alignment between education and outcome metrics and business needs. And he talked a lot about hard skills and soft skills. And those are the things that we would need in those industries: critical thinking, technology, public speaking. And that's what's so great about having the program we have now with the debate, having those students with those public speaking skills, developing those is going to make them a lot more attractive to employers in the future. So we go on to the next one. So this was the last session of the conference, and this was really I was really astounded at her persona. She was very poised and spoke. This mother is she is the mother of a student who died in a shooting a few years ago, and at a school shooting. And she talked with great poise about what happened that day, what went wrong. She created a foundation as a result of the tragedy on behalf of the families and the children that perished. And it's called safeandsoundschools.com. And so I have the link there. It has lots of great resources for schools. She speaks to nationwide to communities and school board members and educators about things that we can do to make our schools safer. Really thinking intentionally about just the practical things. She talked very candidly about it was just as simple as teachers having access to a key that they could lock from the inside of their room, instead of having to go out to the hallway to lock the key, to lock the door, and then have to get back in to protect their students. They weren't able to ever lock their doors. And then she talks about how tragically that could have been such an easy fix. So simple measures can save lives. Communication is the key. She talked a lot about just the disarray. It was unorganized chaos that day. Of course, it's a terrible situation. But there wasn't really a plan, an action plan of communication between community members, first responders, parents who were out just trying to find their kids. There was just a lot of chaos and not a lot of organized communication. So this really rethinking school safety. And I think her website has a lot of information about that. And this is what she talked a little bit more about, was a framework for comprehensive school safety planning and development. So really talking with making sure you have mental, behavioral health services, support for school board, for your schools, having health and wellness, access to that, physical environment, just the whole thing, the building, how it's built, having resources, having things in place for emergency planning, talking about culturally, just being able to communicate with families on that level, and talked a lot about school law, policy, and finance, operational and emergency management. And I think there's a lot of resources that she provides in her organization to help schools make plans, to help in case tragic things like this happen. So it was I felt like it was just a tremendous amount of information. It was a great presentation. I also was able to attend again as a member of the National Black Council. This year I'm a member, so I was able to participate in the business meeting. They have it annually once a year where they vote new leadership. And so we voted in regional leaders. So I think it's 5 different regional leaders. So it's Pacific, East Coast, West, South, Midwest. So it was really great to be able to be a part of that, to vote and meet members from all over the country that represent their school boards and are part of this council. This is, in essence, is really like a national caucus for school board members. So these members represent their school districts, and they also represent this organization on a national level, which is really great. And they are able to provide lots of resources to school board members. And so I'm looking forward to learning a little bit more about being a part of this organization and bringing whatever resources I have, I can acquire from them and bringing that to our district. So this is one of the sessions I attended. This was actually part of our, the National Black Council, someone who came and spoke. And he talked about the hidden biases that educators, that everyone has, and the implications of that. And I love this, what he started off with saying is that we all have biases. The impact of our biases on others depends on the roles we play in society. And so we can go to the next slide. So what I did is just wrote down some of the, I'm probably not going to be able to read this, I'll try, but it's kind of small. So he defines implicit bias as mental association with certain groups with specific traits below conscious awareness, which often are followed by subconscious prejudice and or discriminatory behavior. So this, on first glance, looking at somebody and making association just based on what you've learned, just what you've learned from your history, your environment. And then he talked about what types of common biases exist. So in the U.S., it's race, gender, and age. And actually, he mentioned something that the highest type of bias is for overweight people and elderly people. Which I was really surprised by that. Elderly and obese. Obese? Overweight? Yeah. He said that was the highest. It was like off the charts, which I thought was very surprising. And so why do bias exist? And he kind of broke it down. There's lots of different reasons: competition for jobs, for just about anything, self-esteem or lack thereof, and lack of exposure to diversity or groups of diversity. And then he mentioned something which I think is a really great resource. I was going to ask Andrea to click on the link here in just a second. But this is something I would love for us to do maybe as a board. And it's called the IAT test. It's the implicit association test that measures the strength of subconscious associations between concepts. So this, you can go ahead and click on it now. So it gives you different, you'll scroll down and you'll have to click on another link. Yeah, I wish to proceed. This is an opportunity, you can access this online. This gives you an opportunity to look at race, weight, and you're going to go through a series of questions. It'll give you some kind of a rating on how you're biased. So it's pretty interesting, and he said it's pretty much close on point as far as the way it's scored. So, and I haven't done it yet, but I think that would be something that something educators should do, something that we should do as a board. Anyone that's doing policy, working with students or in education, I think that's a tool that should be looked at. So let's see, practices to reduce implicit bias, individuation, basically just taking people at their face value, getting to know people personally, not making assumptions. Stereotype replacement, replacing those stereotypes. If you see someone that doesn't look like you from a different community, just replacing the stereotype that's in your head and getting to know them for who they are. And it's just this very bare bones, basically says it's, he did a 90-minute presentation on this, so this is very basic. And then the last was increasing opportunities for contact with diverse groups. You're going to learn more about people by being around people, and being around other people, all kinds of people. And so another workshop that I attended was really interesting, and I have the handout for it too, and I can make copies. But he kind of went through the A through Z's of school law, and it's very current. We talked about a lot of things that are that you hear about in the media, or in legislation, or lawsuits, things that are happening in schools that apply to all of us. So he went through a whole presentation of A through C, so things like Alexa in the classroom, the implications of that, privacy concerns, boundaries between teachers and students, social media. We talked about some cases that were going through different states where there's been some problems, drug sniffing dogs, the kneeling student protest, the Pledge of Allegiance, transgender gender identity issues, and also transgender bathrooms. There's a lot of legislation like that going on concerning schools in the South. Vaccinations, that's a really hot topic now. We have a lot of activity going on with that here. A lot of people opposed to forcible vaccinations. And then also school walkouts, which obviously is very timely, but that's something that we are also discussing. So I just want to do something very brief, but I had an opportunity to really connect again with other school board members from around the state. I had an evening with our caucus members and other members of the board of OSBA going out to dinner. And there was another night I went out with other women from around the country who are on school boards, and we were able to kind of share ideas, talk about our experiences, and got to see some of the sites of Philadelphia, which was amazing, and there was some wonderful student entertainment. There was a group from El Paso, Texas, mariachi band, and these teenagers brought me to tears. It was amazing. It's Texas Girl Pride. They're really talented. And then there's also something that's being launched in May on the NSBA site. It's a Center for Safe Schools. There's like different types of tools and resources. I don't think you can click on that, but that's something that could certainly be a resource for us. There's going to be lots of ways for schools to find out how to do things with our websites, to make them safer. So lots of great resources. I mean, there's just no way to present all the information that you come across at the conference. So I was pretty blown away. And I have a stack of books here, things I bought, so if people want to look at the resources I acquired there. There's lots of things I'd like to share with the board. So
Can you have Andrea send us the link on the printout on the bias?
Oh, sure, yeah.
What the do, and then the next link?
Yeah, we can do that. Thank you, Andrea. So any questions or comments for me?
When you went to the NBC,
National Black Council?
Black Council, now do you perceive that most regions have the same challenges along racial biases, or are there, what do you think?
No, not really. I mean, I think it's great education for folks who are on school boards. That bias, I mean, that comes through everything. That the lens of equity bias, it shows up in everything you do. And so being able to look at that and go, oh, I need to fix that, that's a great training for people who are on school boards. So, and he was talking to the National Black Council. So obviously, even within the culture, African Americans have bias. There's bias with dark-skinned African Americans as opposed to light-skinned. There's biases in all different groups. And it really wasn't just about race, it's about class, it's about size, it's about age, just all different types of bias. So I think that's great training for just about any environment. So, and that's why I think it's so powerful.
Well, I couldn't get to all of them, so yeah. Thank you for sharing what you shared.
Mary Lou, do you have anything?
No, I just, the bias.
Okay.
And also, the art of school bullying looks interesting.
Yes, I was thinking we'd look at that this summer, maybe. Yeah. All right, so Dave, I guess you're next, right?
All right, and so, yeah, these are highlights and they're abbreviated because there's lots.
There's a lot.
I first started off with Sir Ken Robertson, started out the conference, keynote speaker. He had lots to say. He stated that we have eroded our culture of learning by taking away of arts and creative elements. Dance is just as important as math. Everything is connected. The system has disempowered our teachers through testing standards and push for more testing. College is not for everyone, and it's not a negative if you don't go. We've got to close the skills gap. And he promoted his new book. So your children in your school. So
Children in your school.
yeah. So he was doing autographs. But then I went to 6 seminars, and it's just a brief synopsis. Seminar 1 was School Climate, Social, Emotional Learning, and Bullying Prevention. This provided background, detailed information of how school districts can work and develop action plans. They used the tier pyramid system, Tier 1 Universal, which is fostering social, emotional, academic development, SED, if that's how you pronounce it, into informed instruction and school-wide efforts designed to foster even more safer, supportive, and engaging climates for learning. Tier 2 is at-risk and target intervention, understanding and addressing the spectrum of experiences that undermine students' feeling and being, and also being and or unable. And Tier 3 was individualized. That was trauma and mental health. And I switched over to, I kind of bounced around in different topics. Next one was preparing students of today for workplaces of tomorrow. And they used the acronym VOCA, which is volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and accountability. This is the world that we live in. I watched a short video by Gerd Leonard, which is on YouTube. It's the digital transformation. Are you ready for the exponent of change? And the catchy phrases from that video was, the disruption is the normal, is the new normal. Change is the constant, and science fiction is now science fact. So, the seminar gave a good overview of what skills our students will need for the workplace, but also provided emphasis on the abilities to adapt to change, to tap into their emotional intelligence and their creativity, which is a key theme, even with the guest speaker on Sunday, is tapping into the emotional side and your creativity. I sat with 2 board members, one from Utah, one from Texas, and the superintendent from Wyoming, the board member from Cypress Fairbanks out of Houston. He shared a tactical goal that I found interesting. Their district invites and brings in local industries and businesses into teacher planning development time. They found it's helpful to stay connected to what industry is out there for their students. It's a way to keep education focused, relative, local, and relevant, current. I'm not sure, but it just struck me. It's like, yeah, it's a great idea. Seminar 3 was a little time away. It was, they call it an informats. This experience ranked as my favorite at the conference. I got to sit in the string section of the Central High Band in Philadelphia, and I got to sit next to a cellist. And so I watched, I listened, and I had the imagination of just being. And the seminar just reinforced my belief on how music education plays a valuable role in our lives. And that was kind of the premise behind that seminar, was to understand our students need that creativity as well as, and also it enhances their well as when it comes to their education. The next morning, I went to seminar 4, the impacts of mental health awareness in our classroom, and this was just amazing. Blaze, I'm gonna butcher his name, but Aguilar of Harvard Medical provided so much information, and the provocative thoughts and takeaways I got from this. I mean, this is just a brief, abbreviated, there's just so much information. Student suicide is bigger than active shootings, and so that was almost one of the first things he said. It's like, we're not focusing enough on the actual, we're not talking about suicide. Reinforcement is the most powerful way to change behavior, not punishment. Emotional language, our students, versus rational language, our teachers. Working towards development of the same language narrative is the key, so we can bridge together. Wellness curriculum and emotional wellness, starting with kindergarten, using time for emotional check-ins and relaxation techniques, which Russell, when we had the presentation, is doing. So it's, I just reinforced something that we're doing in our district. The culture of texting is different than showing emotions. Reading visual cues of happiness, sadness, anger, or just emotional response. There's such a disconnect with that form of communication. And to emphasize that, it's like we've actually stepped backwards. We all need each other as humans, and what is the benefit of holding on to something that, holding on to those who've wronged you and that disagree with you? This was just a very powerful seminar, and I just wish I could bring more to you. Actually, I can't. I have all these slides, but the keynote speaker, again, was Charlie Taylor Jr. Better workplace, better world. I almost wrote down the same thing, soft skills versus hard skills. Hard skills, important, is writing, critical thinking, problem solving, and technology. Workplaces are looking for an emphasis on soft skills, and schools need to adapt to focus on these skills. The soft skills are decision making, adaptability, teamwork, customer focus, dependability, and reliability. And he really highlighted dependability. No ghosting, which is the first time I heard that term, which is ghosting, which is finishing what you set out to do. Finish the process, be thoughtful of others' time and energy. So if you commit yourself to an interview or you commit yourself to a project, do it. Customer focus was highlighted. being polite and attentive to demands of service and clients. I talked about the 2 E's, educators and employers, and came up with, let's commit to finding each kid's strengths versus weaknesses. Let's talk about curriculum and talk about curriculum, and let's measure success differently. The fifth seminar I went to was Shane Feldman, The Secret Lives of Teenagers. Just like last year, I kind of focused into what's going on in the teen level. So Mr. Feldman posed as a student and uncovered the challenges and struggles of today's teenagers. What he found out, the major takeaway was, tune in, listen, and be present. In this distraction culture we live in, self-care is not selfish. So our kids want us to listen. They want to be listened to. That was hammered in. He has a teen mentoring video series dealing with SEL, self-awareness, self-management, relationship skills, and responsible decision-making. Of course, he was promoting that video, but that's what they do at the seminar as well. He's the founder of Count Me In, which is a youth-led movement. It's on a global scale, inspiring youth to be positive change agents in the community. It's very informative and inspirational. And Count Me In is on the web, and it's worth checking out just to see what they're doing. Seminar 6, my last seminar on Monday, is How Social Studies Prepares Students for College and Career in Civic Life. I sat next to Chris Hallett from Gresham Barlow in this one. I guess they're looking at curriculum changes and updates. And so this was put on by the National Council for Social Studies that they sponsored this. And there are 3 talking points where social studies is relevant, it is needed, and it is wanted. We went through a historical overview of past presidential administrations on how they dealt with goals, and social studies didn't fare very well. It has been on the decline for years, and during the Obama administration, there was an uptick in making it a little more relevant, so putting a little more to it in high school, which goes into statistically elective offerings of social studies have dropped on the high school level. There's more need for coursework and programs. Basically, you get a shot of it in middle school and then a little of it in high school, and we're wanting our kids to be civic-minded people. And it's tough in social studies, we don't give them that background. When students are engaged in social studies, they learn civic competence, how to exercise their responsibilities, their rights, and roles in the world. As a social studies enthusiast, I wholeheartedly agree with that. I love this conference. I walked away knowing more and questioning more. And thank you for letting me share.
Thank you for sharing. There's a great book by a professor from Harvard called Emotional Intelligence.
So if there's no comments or questions, we're going to move on to the
I
next.
have a question.
Do you have a question?
Yeah, well, I think that is also, I think that you just watched the movie, but what things to describe. But something that I wrote that is so important, and it keeps coming up throughout the state, the rate of suicide here in Oregon is actually picking up. And a lot of the student success, the packet that we're hoping it passes has grants, especially stemming to address these needs in Eastern Oregon. I think, as you mentioned it, suicide is higher than active shooters. And I mean, it has to do with the world that we live in today, the cybersecurity especially. We can't have enough of it. A lot of our students they spend a lot of time, by themselves, one-on-one with technology. And it's something that we definitely need to look at, something that I heard from the trade schools. I think at one of our meetings that we have at Community Solutions, we talk about taking advantage of our community and all the resources that we have at the unions. So we have the carpenters, we have the painters, we have UNA, and connected to the industry so that our kids, when they finish, as you say, college is not forever. And I didn't go to college right away. Many people don't go to college right away. But if there's, those opportunities for the kids to do carpentry, electricity. I mean, those are good paying jobs, and you know, they're required for the schools to kind of partner up with the unions, especially we have, this is union town, right? Here is Portland, we have the most concentration of union members is right here. We should definitely, and I think we talked about at one point, you know, reach out to those places and say, yeah, you know, they do some sort of career training education so that more families, students, maybe even families can come participate in those meetings. And kind of start regarding the conversation to achieve, you know, maybe this is an opportunity that it may not be for everybody, but it's definitely something that many can benefit from. And so, you know, I look forward to seeing more on that. I like what you said, ghosting.
Ghosting.
Ghosting, so not commit yourself to something and not just leave it. That's all. Thank you.
Yep, so I also just wanted to make a quick note that that Michelle also spoke at the event, at the conference.
I did.
Spoke on behavioral, I can't remember the title.
Suicide
Yeah,
prevention,
suicide
responsible prevention, and school liability and suicide prevention.
So it was really proud of for Representative Parkrose, and spoke at a session, I was able to have the meeting all night, so it was great.
Will you eventually tell us about what you know?
She may, before she was.
Oh, thank you.
All right, so we're gonna go into graduation speaker, so we need to have a discussion about this. So I'll just open the floor to, a suggestion or who wants to nominate somebody?
Well, it also says ceremony discussion.
Yes, it does. I mentioned those. I said, yeah, so.
Which leads me to, is it Robert?
Well, this has come up, like, I know last year what we did is we nominated someone, or everybody had an idea of who should be speakers.
Who did it last year?
That was me.
Well, the only person who's currently on the board who has it is Sarah, and I already can tell you what she would say. No.
I'm okay, I was misunderstanding, I thought that maybe she was considering it.
I would be surprised if she has not in the past. I'm gonna be just really creative and throw something out. I feel the high school, it's their graduation. But I know that there's been some discussions about modifying it, and maybe doing it a little different. And not being disrespectful to this position. I don't really know how important a school board member is in giving a 5 or 10 minute speech to the graduates when you have the other people who are giving speeches. And so I'm gonna be real bold and say, we don't give a speech.
Yeah, I don't like that idea. I mean, I think there's honor in it, and I think that, you know, you're elected, and it's a privilege to do that. And I think it's something that really should be a part of the ceremony. We represent the board, it's a representation of the board, of what wishes for our students, who we've supported. I absolutely wholeheartedly think that a representative should speak on behalf of the board at graduation. So I don't agree with that. But I respectfully don't agree with that.
I go with tradition as well. It's more of education. It's you know, it's part of, you know, it's just part of it, because you're you may disagree, because there's actually diploma as well, and it's shared with science diploma, so there is an active role with graduation.
In all respect, when I graduated, literature I didn't speak. So traditions vary from place to place.
So Eric?
Well, I see the importance of having I remember when I did it some years ago, I was walking down, you know, the stairs. I met somebody from India who came and, you know, he took my hand. He said, thank you for doing that. My experience as an immigrant, as somebody coming from a different country, spoke to his soul. And I kept thinking about that kid, or about, you know, the kids who were using like a sarape thing around them, like a mesh thing. And, in Spanish, they spoke to me when they came, say, gracias. And I think the connection is important because we speak to the community. I have no preference of who gets to do it, but I mean, if somebody would do it, I'll be okay with it.
Is there anybody interested? You two? One of you gentlemen interested?
What about you?
I don't know if it's gonna happen.
Well,
I did it
keeping
last
up
year.
with tradition.
You can ask Sarah, since she's not here, I don't want to
Yeah,
speak.
I don't want to speak for her, because,
Does
I'm
it
basing
have-
on assumptions, so.
Does it have to be determined tonight?
I don't believe so. I think that the high school really is proceeding with planning to have the graduation at the high school in the gym. So I don't think that it would have to be determined. I think just the person who's speaking probably is gonna need some preparation to do the speech. We do meet for a work session in May. We could revisit it then, since Sarah's not here tonight.
Okay.
Are we going to have the same rules that whoever speaks has to send it to the superintendent?
Yeah, that should something still be the law.
So let's make sure that we have clarification. And the other thing I'm going to throw out is, and if we're going to go with tradition, the only place I've ever seen this tradition is here.
David Douglas?
Where's,
David Douglas?
no, my concern is that the board members wear robes.
I have a picture with all of them.
I know,
Professional.
no.
Oh, you're concerned about?
What I'm saying is that as long as we're sitting up on, whenever years ago, board members started wearing graduation robes with their collar of whatever they got, wherever they got their college degree. For me, I am very uncomfortable with that. I just listened to you talk about the honor in the trades and the employment in the trades, and that we are in a union city. And for me, and this might be my deviant personality, friends, but I feel that when we have those robes on, we are sending a clear message to people who live in this school district, who are attending the graduation, that you can only be a board member if you graduate from college.
Well, I mean.
What if we just, the men wore nice slacks and jacket, and the women wore nice whatever, and we don't do the robes?
We could do like the village people, and then.
You
like,
wanna come in as a, what, am I gonna be the
I mean, I don't
man?
know. I'm just no. I mean, I'm okay. I mean, I could be both. I mean, yeah.
So Dave, do you have an opinion you want to share?
I like the robes.
I too like the robe, but I think a lot of it is just, I'm not gonna find the right words for it, but I feel like, it's kind of like an honor to do that, to be there, where students are coming up and graduating, and we're all in uniform, in uniform, so to speak, a formal uniform. I remember my college graduation, and the board members had the robes, and, I don't know, I feel like visually and, what's the other word I'm thinking of? Just traditionally, just for lack of a better word, that is a great representation to be there unified, looking great in a robe. And I'm proud that I have a degree. I think it's aspirational. I don't think it's telling kids because they go to the trades that just know that, I'm both of you, I've done more than you, and you can't achieve that. And certainly, people can be elected to a board without being a college graduate. I don't think we're sending that message by wearing robes.
How?
And I respectfully just don't, that's just how I feel. I respect your opinion, and I can understand that, but I don't feel that that's what kind of message we're sending by wearing robes, so.
One of my biases is coming out. I mean, it truly is. And it's one of those things that I work on.
Yeah.
But,
And
you know,
we will just respectfully table this and move on to the next item, so, we'll have to talk about this again.
Did you guys need to talk about handshaking?
Oh, yes, that's right, handshaking.
that's another
Yes,
piece.
I do have a suggestion, so if I can speak first. I think it might be good to maybe look at, organizing it, or maybe every 50 students, one person is a primary handshaker, and that person sits and another board member comes up, instead of all of us in one line shaking hands. I think that might be better. Is there anyone else think that might be a good idea? And also the stage won't be as crowded as well. I mean,
Tradition.
no, I'm thinking in terms of the stage. Last year, I thought all of us standing there in line and the students coming up, it was a little crowded. And I think that might be, if we're able to do that, to mark it some way, or, what are your thoughts, Michael, on that?
Yeah, I think logistically we could make that happen. It will provide more space and probably be less awkward for the kids coming forward.
I was at the very end, and because we were so many, there was like a traffic issue kind of at the end. And there was a kid who was planning, she was being guided, and I kind of had to, take it away. So I think the less traffic as we can make it, the better. That's safety.
Well, no, that's a fair way of splitting it up. There's so many students, and then the next board member. So it's just one board member representing the board at each level.
Yeah.
So,
Fine.
That's a
Number
suggestion.
one, we've got tradition here, people. And tradition has been very important tonight. Number two, I want to shake the hand of the chair.
But this is not about us, not about.
No, it's not about, that's right, Erin, it's not about us. It's about those kids who are sitting in that gym and their parents who are waiting to meet them after graduation. It's about getting their diploma. Why do beach balls sometimes appear? Because the graduation ceremony is long and tedious. You're right, it's not about us. It's about those kids. Why don't we ask the kids what they want the school board to do? Why don't we respect them?
I would propose that we focus on safety, and then we go from there. Because, it was really crowded when I was over at the corner. And kids with, especially kids with
Kids are
disabilities.
standing next to you.
Let's continue to have a conversation. If the safety says that it's better if,
I think safety for speed, efficiency, just having one person just following by,
We'll
having
change
Michael
it.
and a board person, and then every 50 to 75, another board member sits down, another one gets up. That's efficient, it's quick. The students get to shake two hands and they're off the stage.
You still have the bodies sitting on the stage. And that takes away from the walk. Going back to Eric's point that it's about the kids, not about us, safety is a concern.
Yeah, I don't think,
But why aren't we asking the kids what they want for their graduation ceremony?
But I think
So I think my thought actually, if I may say, so, is really, this is probably Michael's decision, because he's the superintendent. And I think like principals, high school officials, I think that they would probably make that decision. I don't feel comfortable just saying, as a board member, this is the way it needs to look. I trust Michael's judgment, he can take our suggestions.
Yeah, I think it would be important for me to talk to Molly, just in terms of how things are structured. It is already the end of April, and I know, for instance, like gowns have been ordered, lots of things have been put in place already. So I would check with her, and then I can report back to you in May in terms of what the kind of stage setup would be.
but you know what, or.
We are meeting with students as well. Students have requested to do some things that obviously there's always wanting to decorate hats and do beach balls and things like that. And we do, right?
Right.
Because, my question would be, well, the kids may not want to shake anybody's hand.
Yeah,
Right? And
that's right.
that's truly a representation of the kids as well. We wouldn't really be able to do a vote of the senior class, and I guess we
Yeah,
could.
I really trust your judgment in this. And we have our.
I will
our
follow up.
thoughts. Okay.
Yep.
Great, well, let's move on to retiree celebrations discussion. So that is coming up, right?
Yes.
What is the date for that, Audrey?
15.
And then there's the board retiree social, which is May, the day after Memorial Day. So you guys have to decide if you're gonna do the clocks or go with the roses.
Yeah, we had a discussion, our cabinet had a discussion in terms of, we have noticed that in our vault, there are clocks that we have given to retirees that have never been picked up. And we felt that maybe a better representation of honoring our retirees would be to get them a rose bush, since we are Parkrose, as a gift. And if they don't claim the rose bush, we could always provide it to someone in need of a rose bush. Versus a clock that has somebody's name on it.
Okay.
That sits in our vault.
What's the cost difference between the?
A lot.
Roses are cheaper.
The clocks are expensive.
Yeah, the clocks are expensive. So there
Come
is.
back every year, right? I mean, they just, it's a great.
I think that's a great idea.
That's great.
Sort of a little certificate of service.
Yeah, I think we could definitely do that, something in one of those booklets where it's something they can.
So I believe it's May 21st, right? I hate to put you on the spot, but I guess you could send us a reminder.
You mean the board recognition?
The board recognition.
Yeah, I believe so.
I thought it was May 20th.
I think it's May 20th.
May 20th?
Or maybe it's.
Because I thought it was a
yeah, 'cause
holiday.
the following weekend is the holiday.
Yeah.
Well, May 27th is Memorial Day.
Right.
Oh, so I'm sorry.
28.
Oh, it's the
28th.
28th, right, it's the day after.
A
So
Tuesday.
it's that one.
Okay.
And get your $10 in for the COLA celebration.
All right, so any more discussion on that one?
Oh, yes, do we need to talk about the 250?
The 250.
All right, I'm going to go on.
One of the requirements, there has been a request by board member that we donate $250 to the retirement committee. And until the board tells me otherwise, I cannot write a check for the retirement committee. So I couldn't find anything, and I don't believe Andrea found anything.
I failed to research it.
So, to do that, I have to have an action of the board members that agrees to, out of the board funds that are in your budget, out of the $20-some thousand that you have, that you dedicate $250 to be paid to the retirement committee.
Yeah, 250, like, so.
Not out of your personal account, out of the Parkrose school budget for the board.
1,250 or just 250?
No, just 250.
From our fund.
I thought we had, when we looked at the budget this fall, we had a lengthy discussion, and Eric, you brought up something, and I said, I'll pay the 250 myself, and we decided to leave it in.
I'm okay with
So
it.
we need to vote on it, is that right? Okay.
You do, because I cannot pay it, and I put the person on hold until it gets approved.
Okay, well, let's do that in the first discussion. So do I hear a motion to approve $250 allocated for the retiree? Is it retiree?
Retirement committee.
I so move.
I'll second.
So we have a motion and a second. So any discussion about that?
Do we have enough money at this point? Charlie?
Yes.
Okay, so hearing no further discussion, questions, all those in favor of approving the allocation of $250 to the retiree committee, please say aye.
Aye.
None opposed? All right, so moved. You got the
Mary
motion?
Lou, can you please have him send me an invoice and I will pay it?
I will tell Craig to send you opinion voice.
Okay, so next is the MESD Budget Committee update. We'll just do a really quick thing. Keep it very brief.
So, the budget meeting was a little longer than last year, it ended up being 65 minutes. We passed a budget of $93,990, almost $94,000. I mean, just $200 less than $94,000. The budget was forecasted using the co-chair's figures of 8.7 million and will be in a 49-51 split over the biennium. There's a current question whether the ESDs will be included in the funding for the Joint School Success Act. We don't know yet, so stay tuned on that. The Multnomah Education Service District is focusing on regional equity support and alignment strategies. So it has partnered up with two other ESDs, Northwest Regional and Clackamas, to create a metro area equity collaborative. This budget includes funding for a shared equity director position. The Multnomah Education Service District is allocating 42% of that shared cost of this position within this budget. And they're taking more of the share because Clackamas already has a position. So this is something that they're really focusing on, and so we're not with that. So, that's it.
Thank you, Dave. Any questions, Heidi? Erica?
No, thank you, Mr. Carter, for doing that.
Yeah, thank you for doing that. So the next up is a regional school board equity group. I'll just quickly do a really quick update. We met about a week and a half ago. Sarah was also with me. And there were several members in attendance. Not everyone was in attendance. We're hoping to add a few more members from some of the outer East County line districts that have not committed. So we're talking with members in Reynolds and Gresham. So we're hoping to have more folks. We're looking to have at least 2 from each East County district. We're basically just building the building blocks of what we want to do as a group, regional equity group. We are looking at, just kind of getting to know each other, talking a little bit about equity in our districts, how we came to our positions, our education background, if any, and then really just having conversations about equity and how it applies to the work we do, and also in our personal lives. So building capacity, learning about each other, because as we get to know each other, build relationships, we really feel like we're going to be a really solid unit. So it's really just kind of building the groundwork. What we are looking at in the next couple of months is identifying 2 to 3 regional disparities to address collectively as a group, and also develop 2 to 3 shared equity goals and strategies. So it's just really exciting work, and it's good to get to know other folks that are in the other districts doing the same type of work. So I'll have something to report. We're meeting later in May, so that's another update next month. So. All right, so now it's time for the superintendent report.
Great, so first reading of board policy. Obviously, we spent quite a bit of time on these at the work session, so the additions are highlighted in gray and the deletions are stricken through. So if you have questions about this, please email me those questions before second reading. There were some questions that were addressed during the work session. So policy DFEA, which is the admissions to district events. With a student ASB card, students get into sporting events for free. Their dance costs are reduced. Leadership events are reduced. Band and choir events are already free, and there is no reduction for plays. And just note that this ebbs and flows a little. It's all managed by the high school and is communicated to students by the high school. The pool is also complicated due to significant costs involved. We've been charging a reduced rate for folks with the Parkrose Senior Citizen Pass since January of 2010. Anyone with a pass dated earlier than January of 2010 still gets in for free. 2010 was another year Parkrose faced significant budget cuts. We'd also like to add free pool admission for Parkrose resident retirees. Due to these extensive details, we'd also like to manage them at the district office level. And lastly, we are no longer associated with the Mount Hood Conference. We are members of the Northwest Oregon Conference in terms of athletics. And then policy GDBA, which is Mother Friendly Workplace. Russell's was not on the original introduction. Their location is the kitchenette off the multi-purpose room. And that's been added.
And just, so we just send questions to you.
Yep, questions to me. The other piece, I would just say, is the only thing I would add to the equity team agenda is that May's meeting will have specific actions that I'll share with the board that are recommended actions. We have a list of about 13 items that came from the list that both Sonia and Mary Lee discussed, and that's really what we're going to dig into in our May meeting that's coming up. OSAA meeting report, we met with OSAA Executive Director, St. Helens Superintendent and Athletic Director, as well as Winston Cornwall from the Department of Education. And we had just a long conversation about, one, what St. Helens specifically was doing around the incident that occurred this past winter. And it was great that we just had a great conversation, and I felt like that there were real clear evidence that St. Helens has taken action, not only administratively, but things that they're planning to do with staff. And then there was a lot of conversation around really the one request that Parkrose asked. Our ask was we felt that it was necessary that the district formally apologize to the students. And so we did organize a time for superintendent and athletic director to come and meet with our girls and share an apology to them. And they had really good questions. They did want to know why it took so long, and I think that St. Helens superintendent was very thoughtful in his responses and did the very best he could in explaining the situation in their community. We also heard from Barbara Smith-Warner last week. One of the points of the conversation was what was happening policy-wise. So House Bill 3409 was voted on and approved in the House of Representatives. This specific House bill is sponsored by Representative Bynum and Barbara Smith-Warner, our own rep, and Speaker Kotek. It is due for a vote in the Senate. This official law actually just adds more expectation around decorum at athletic events and school events, and also requires a level of consequence for places that are hosting when discrimination or racial prejudice occurs, during an event. So it gives some legs to what OSAA is trying to do in terms of their policy, and the piece that I've been really pressing with OSAA is just more requirements in terms of what our coaches are learning in their training around how to handle the situations, because a lot of our coaches are younger people. They need guidance themselves, which is going to come from the athletic directors and administrators that are involved. So I just want to thank, I released a letter last week, a co-letter that was written by myself and the superintendent from St. Helens. And he's been great, so responsive, and I appreciate his efforts. It's been really great.
So any questions, anyone, Ms. Norman?
No, thank you, Michael, for the diligence on this, and 2019 is a good place to do this, and I'm hoping that we keep it, the future, not just Parkrose, but throughout the state, a new beginning as that's for so many kids in various houses.
I'm glad our students have an opportunity to hear an apology, and I know Scott's going to do a good job out of it. It's great.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, so I'm glad they got that, and they deserve that.
Can we, at some future date, honor these young ladies?
Yeah, we talked about being able to do that in May and inviting the girls to come. And now that we're at the stage that we are, I wanted to be cognizant of not putting this cause on them to resolve, right? But I think that they definitely deserve recognition for their courage and willingness to be patient, the adults, trying to make something happen. So I'm pleased that it's had an impact legislatively, and I'm pleased that I believe that OSAA is going to make some changes that will make a difference.
I do have a question about OSAA. Is this actually going to be an equity policy? Is that how they're going to
Well, I do think that Winston from ODE is helping them with that, and then the other piece that really brought it to legislation, of course, Barbara Smith-Warner was instrumental, Speaker Kotek and Representative Bynum. I think the part that they will need some help with is on kind of that equity lens. And that's why COSA, our group of administrative statewide, they're working with OSAA in crafting that policy. So if there's much more here. Yeah. And OSBA is involved as well.
Okay. People's customers are
Yeah.
very excited
Budget meeting recap, I just want to, publicly thank Cherie and her team again for all the work. Obviously, you guys all know how much work goes into that. And just, unfortunately prepare our community for the impact of cuts that are going to, unfortunately affect people. And most importantly, it affects our kids. But it, just as important, it's going to affect some staff in our district. And it's been a while since our district has faced a reduction in force, and I wish that I had better news. I wish there were other ways, and there may be other ways, but I also feel that it's our responsibility to not kick the can down the road, because we do face another significant budget shortfall next year. And while trying to achieve some goals that a lot of folks in our community and a lot of folks on our staff had said are important to our strategy moving forward. So I think one of the most important things moving ahead is that all of the collective feedback I've been getting really needs to build into our strategy as a collective, superintendent and school board, in terms of what is our strategic plan moving forward and how does that look financially, as well as what are those actions that we are still committed to taking regardless of how heavy that lift might be. And it's just unfortunate to, as a school district, spend as much time as we are figuring out how to save money through this shortfall, because it really has taken up a lot of our time. And so I want to thank our staff for the ongoing work, because there's still lots to do. So stay tuned. I'll have more information as we move ahead.
Michael?
Yes.
Your communication to the staff after the budget was brilliant, clarified, and I am sure created some relief.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I think that there will always be confusion when it has to do with impacting people, and as you all know, our budget's very complex, and so I think that our presence in these moments are important, even though they're hard conversations. Just two more things. One is legislative. Barbara Smith-Warner, you heard her talk about House Bill 3427. So that's the House bill to remember. That's what we want to be advocating for. So House Bill 3427 essentially is intended to raise $2 billion for the biennium. This bill is currently being worked through in the House. It does include ESDs now in the most recent revision. So ESDs are very happy about that. The other piece that's very important is that this is a bill that is crafted to obviously increase revenue. The main revenue generator is a corporate activities tax, which has multiple exemptions, and within the bill itself, there's a lot of details about, one is grocery stores being exempt, but it's a gross receipts tax, very much that was similar to Measure 97, except there are specific entities that will not be affected by this activities tax, as well as has a 0.25% reduction for middle income for most Oregonians, and I think that is part of trying to set some intrigue for people if this is to be voted on, because they're definitely counted. This bill does not this is not automatically going to a vote. It really is a matter of they're pretty sure that it will get the signatures on a referendum to be brought to voters. Of the $2 billion, the thing that's important to note for Parkrose is that one of the pieces is that it would add another half a weight for poverty, which would really be significant for Parkrose. So even, I would imagine Cherie's initial estimates would be higher because we would have that additional poverty weight. That would be additional dollars for our district. So that's promising. The other piece to think about is that this bill is split into uneven thirds. So $1 billion of the $2 billion over the biennium would be intended for the school improvement fund. And the school improvement fund is where it will be most flexible. That's where that kind of safe and healthy schools, broader interpretation of how we as a collective school district could apply the $1 billion over the biennium. And then the other two parts, one would be for early learning, so $400 million of the $2 billion would be dedicated to early learning, and I believe that we've set the stage well here at Parkrose for more early learning opportunities at all of our schools. And then the last piece, the other $600 million, would go to state initiatives. So you'll hear things like student success teams. Student success teams are really how the state is going about focusing on schools that need improvement, need a direct improvement. There are dollars in there for ODE oversight because there are going to be strings attached to these dollars. So some money will go to the Department of Education to monitor our plans. They are going to require out of this bill full funding of Measure 98, so that's a state initiative that out of this $600 million, they would fully fund Measure 98, which would bring a significant increase to our 8th grade through high school budget. Expansion of nutrition programs, this is a big part of the bill that's still being worked through. This would be for many schools, free breakfast, free lunch. So again, another take on potentially community eligibility. There's a lot being done because there, as Barbara Smith-Warner alluded to last week, there are federal regulations that need to be sure that they're following so that they could do this. So I'm sure that they'll be engaging some of our business managers around how to make that work. There also will be added dollars in the state initiative, $600 million to high cost disability fund. Again, a really great benefit to our district and all districts because that would better support our students. School safety task force, they want to create a statewide task force around school safety. Talk about some of the things that you guys probably learned about at the School Boards Association conference. There are 2 statewide equity initiatives. One is the Black African American Student Success Grant that would be refunded, and now a brand new grant for Latinx students and families. So there's a lot of balls in the air, but just think about the $1 billion would be the school improvement fund. What I would say is going to have the most flexibility, but there will be strings attached to that. And then the $600 million will be for those statewide initiatives, and then $400 million for early learning if the bill passes as it's currently presented to you. So 3427, Parkrose really will benefit a great deal from the passage of this bill. It is held up, and it is very unlikely that this bill will pass if there isn't some sort of PERS reform. The senator who is not willing to vote, she doesn't want to hear from us. I heard on Friday she's not willing to even hear from her patrons at this point until there is something on the table that involves PERS reform. And I do believe that is going to be a sticking point as to whether it passes or not. There are some Republican senators who are willing to pass if there's something on the table around PERS reform. So that was my most recent update on Friday among statewide superintendents. So just keep your ear to the ground. It's still going. And I'll quickly give you an update on May 8th. You saw that last week I announced to the community that we are going to have emergency closure on May 8th. This is largely due to at this point last week we had around 60 teachers who put in for personal leave, which they can do. The district does have the ability to say, no, we're not going to take those personal leaves, but we also know this is a pretty sensitive issue, particularly in Multnomah County. All of the Multnomah County superintendents communicated last week, and as of Wednesday, all Multnomah County schools indicated they'd be closing for the same reason, due to lack of substitutes to fill the classrooms, even though we had almost all of our high school vacancies, which was where the most personal leave requests came. still to consider having, 25 to 26 substitutes on a day concerned me. And then, of course, we had multiple places at elementary and middle school that were not filled. So again, I was concerned about the impact of our classified staff being asked to do work they're not normally asked to do, and are we able to kind of run a safe school day? As Rick mentioned earlier, I do think that it is important to note publicly that this isn't necessarily an easy thing for our district. This does impact our district negatively in terms of how we operate. We do have agreements with our OSEA bargaining agreement that, the staff that do report to work, because we do have to have some staff report to work to make certain things happen, like AP testing, transporting kids to school. We do have in our agreement that we will double pay those people that work that day. I think the other most important thing is how do we, you will be voting tonight on whether or not we'll be adding a school day to the calendar, and I have committed to a further conversation with OSEA about how we handle that to support our classified staff who are at least neutrally impacted, in my opinion, negatively impacted because it's something that we're just doing. And this is a very unusual emergency closure that is not typical, and I hope is not typical in the future. But we also know that there are metro area districts that are even talking, I heard about it in Parkrose, but I did hear on my statewide meeting on Friday, that there are Willamette Valley area districts that are considering other days. I have not heard any word of that, but I did hear from other superintendents that their associations were talking about other days that potentially can happen. So of course I'll be reaching out to you if that were to happen. Right now we're just planning for closure on May 8th. I'll be following up with you because I need a further conversation with the OSEA however to make this fair as fair can be in a tough situation. While we support the concept of raising revenue for schools, this does have an impact on operations and the people who work here.
APA testing you got that covered, so.
AP testing, yes, we're working through the details around transportation, and thanks to Tracy, who's working hard to figure out how we're gonna feed the kids that are here. Also just thinking about what classified staff need to report, so that we can be prepared. I wouldn't doubt that kids are gonna show up, right? And how do we support those kids and their families when they may think school is happening? So just getting more communication out and talking with families and supporting our staff to get through it.
No, and thank you for considering OSEA.
60 staff last Thursday. Any more?
We haven't looked because we haven't quite decided, we're not gonna look at, we're not gonna look at that.
Okay, so now we're gonna go to our technology update, Christine.
I wanted to just give you a look at, as we're going into budget season, as we're weaning ourselves off the bond, as we're moving into sort of what's next. We're just gonna look a little bit at what we've done and what my best guesses are for next. Abraham Lincoln did his schoolwork using charcoal on the back of a shovel. Then we had individual slates, then we had spirals. Cut it out, Andrea. Then we moved to iPads, and by and large, we're mostly moving to Chromebooks right now. So that's been a sort of a progression forward. In May of 2011, our bond passed. In 12-13, we bought about the first 250 iPads for staff. In the summer of 13-14, we bought that first set that we got for our 4-5 classrooms, our 5 classrooms, our 4-5 blends, our 5th grade classrooms, our 6th grades, and our 11s. So that by 13-14, we sort of knew what we were doing, and we bought another about 2,000 iPads to put our one-to-one project in place. If you do a little quick math, you'll notice that 13-14 was 5 years ago. And then in 15-16, we replaced our teaching iPads with Air 2s. So overall, we've gotten about 4,000 iPads through the bond. We've also bought iPads from some other money. But again, our biggest purchase was 5 years ago on devices that most people tend to think of as 3 to 4 year devices. So we've done pretty well with them, but we are wringing the last little iotas of life out of them. And in addition to the devices themselves, we spent about $50,000 for Meraki. That was 4,000 licenses for the course of 3 years. Meraki was the thing that let us track stolen and lost iPads. It put in our district settings, including our wireless key that you can't do by hand. It limited the number of apps that students could have access to, which is very important at the elementary grades. It allowed us to deploy purchased apps, and then it removed the need for Apple IDs, which are not actually allowable for under 13s. So that became kind of important. But our Meraki licenses are done. And so this year, we moved one-to-one iPads out of the middle school and high school entirely. There's a couple of class sets, but by and large, the middle school and high school have moved over to Chromebooks exclusively. The elementaries still have one-to-one iPads, one-to-one 5-year-old iPads, plus 5 Chromebooks per classroom, as well as between 1 and 2 Chromebook carts at each building. We're just about to get in another set of 8 Chromebook carts for the elementaries, 2 at each building. And then, I don't remember how many secondary carts we're getting, probably another 6, I think. But this is our last, we're on our last couple months of Meraki. So that's been the big crisis. You know, we have old iPads that I didn't want to and didn't have the money to invest a lot of money into another MDM. Fortunately, after a lot of whining, Andrew finally came to a place that we think we've got a good system that isn't going to cost us anything. We think we can use an MDM. It's because it's free. It's a much more narrow focused. It doesn't do as much as Meraki did. Because just like apps, you know, you kind of have the free limited version and then you have the paid premium version. We're getting the free limited version. But it'll do what we need it to do. On those elementary iPads, they really can't run that many apps anyway. We'll keep Door24 Light Sail, Dual Suite, and iXL on. Those are the things that we we consider kind of mission critical. And we think we can get another year out of them. Staff and the iPads that are used specifically with certain special ed students will obviously need to be more finished. So we think we've got that ready to go. We're going to get 1 more year out of that. The Chromebooks we've been buying, Rick, I should have asked you how many Chromebooks we've bought. A lot.
We've got around 3,000, I think, right now.
Counting Chrome boxes in the labs.
Counting the labs, counting the staff, counting students.
Yeah. So again, the Chromebooks, I'm hoping to wring 4, 5, 6 years of life out of them. And by that time, I don't know what's going to be out there. So that's not an unreasonable lifespan for personal devices like this, because it's a changing market. And I don't want to lock us into anything that would preclude us from being able to move when it's time to move. So that's where we are. That's kind of what I'm looking for in the next couple of years. We were really lucky that we were able to land on Mosul, or we probably had to take all those iPads out of the elementaries, because I can't leave them in places that are damaged. Okay.
Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next is Mary Jones. Can you please
All right, so as you guys know, it's hiring season. We had our job fair on April 2nd. There were 10 of us there, and we had a couple directors, some principals. We had a couple admin candidates that were there, kind of assisting principals, and then of course kind of HR assistant with setting up interviews for the day. Lots of qualified candidates. We saw a ton of people between 9 and about 11:30, and then we start switching over and the principals start going into screening type interviews that take a little bit longer. We ended up having all 3 principals screen and do interviews from about noon to 4. All our scheduled interviews showed up for their screening, which was a big change from the previous year. We had lots of no-shows. So that was very encouraging, and most of the principals would say they thought it was a great job fair in terms of just quality of candidates. We had lots of people that would come by and go, oh, Parkrose, I've been looking for you, so that was good to hear. We currently have 18 positions posted. We have 6 of those are currently already filled. 5 of those interviews are in progress, and 7 of those close in early May. Since we started posting our open positions in mid-March, we've had a total of 201 applicants so far. That's an average of about 11 applicants per posted position. So, looking good, feeling good about the number of candidates that we're getting and the quality of candidates that we're getting. Any questions?
Thank you. Thank you. No questions.
Are we using our equity lens?
Absolutely.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
All right, Michelle, Marco, what's next? Structured skills classroom.
All right, so we just wanted to give you guys some details about the structured skills classroom that we're going to be opening up at Russell Elementary. And really, we always want to just start with the why around things like this. And it's really to assure that more students and families that are Parkrose students and families can stay in district in our school to expand that continuum of service. We also want to invest in building capacity of our own staff instead of kind of sending our dollars outside of the district. And what's going to happen is we'll get more experts in-house, and then because we're so small, the way that we share professional development, that will spread more quickly. And it'll reduce cost over time and potentially be a revenue maker if we open slots to other districts. The details so far, we're looking at 3-to-1 staffing, starting with 1 teacher and 2 7-hour EAs with 6 current students identified. We are going to be increasing time of specialists. By that I mean our OT, our PT, our SLP. We are adding an additional TOSA. This is something I've really advocated for, even with the cuts, because I feel like in order to do it right, to the point where we can open slots to other districts, where it's reputable, where it's something that's sustainable, it has to have that infrastructure to support it, to build it. Because, starting a new program is really hard. There will be challenges and rocks in the road, but this will help overcome those. Just so you know, capacity-wise, if we stay more like traditionally self-contained, we'd be going up to around 12 students. But if we've got students mainstreamed for up to half of the day, we could go up to probably 15 students, and we would add additional EAs, keeping the staffing level at 3-to-1. We have been investing already in curricular and professional development investments, so we have some staff who are STAR trained, and we're going to be purchasing unique learning systems. We have purchased STAR, Edmark, some different math, touch math activities and things like that. So we have a little bit of money set aside for additional curriculum, but we've also been buying little bits of it this year as well. We're looking at grades K-3 for next year, and just kind of a heads up that we're going to now need to be thinking about also a 3-5 location, and then that's super exciting because then we'll have a nice kindergarten through 21 articulated program, right? You guys were talking about that with band and music. Same here, it would be wonderful for families to be able to start in kindergarten in Parkrose and stay all the way through each 21. Do you guys have questions about that? This is a kind of really big deal, so that's my celebration.
Any questions for him?
I'm totally excited.
Cool. Thanks for supporting.
The building, is that, putting it in Russell, is it just a good match? Is that?
Russell's a good match. Principal Sam Regasis really wanted it. She talked about that early on, just wanting to have a classroom in her school. She was used to that coming from her prior schools, and she just put it out there, but it was something she really loved to have kind of from our first meeting together. And so it's always nice to go with the willing. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Michelle.
Okay, next, do you have any more cards?
No cards.
Next is action items. Okay, so this is Police Bureau. This is, I'm just gonna go over these. Are you gonna bring those up?
Sorry.
Okay. Let's see. So we are, so they're requesting the use of Parkrose High School and Parkrose Middle School. So we'll go over all, both of these, and then we vote. Please, I should do that.
These were not part of consent, were they?
Nope, it's under action because the lady was gonna come to speak to it, but she didn't show up.
Okay, that's right. Okay,
So, motion?
so we should, is there a motion to approve or reject the Camp Rosenbaum Police Bureau Youth Camp Police Facility request?
I so move.
Second, all right.
I have a question. What's the cost that they will be paying?
3,000.
As part of discussion, have they talked to Michael already? And you're okay with it, Michael? And
Yeah, this is something that they have provided for years for our students. Obviously, we just need to be able to pay for someone to help manage the event and custodial fees to pay for cleanup.
And 3,000 will offset those?
Yep, custodial fees, event vendor fees.
Yep.
Is what they're paying
That's
for.
what the 3,000 would pay for,
Oh.
is to pay for the custodian.
All right, so hearing no further discussion, so we'll go ahead and vote. So all in favor of approving Camp Rosenbaum Portland Police Bureau Youth Camp Free Reduced Facility request, all say aye.
Aye.
None opposed? Any opposed? Okay, so that passes. Next is accept or reject teacher appreciation resolution.
So move.
You did?
Second, whichever we want to.
Dave-
You go first, I'll go second.
So move.
Dave motion and Mary Lou second. So we'll take the two vote, if there's no discussion, questions, obviously there won't be none. So all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
None opposed? Okay, next is to approve or reject the 18-19 district calendar revision. We're adding June 7th to the calendar.
Whoopee.
So any,
So moved.
any motions? So Mary Lou moved and Eric second. Any discussion, questions, comments? Okay, so all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so that motion passes. All right, so moving to discussion of future agenda items.
RFP for nutrition services is an added action item.
Did I miss that? Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't have it on this part. All right, so, let's see.
Sharwell's.
So, request for proposal for food services. Okay, this is for the, okay, so any discussion on this?
Did you have an opinion on this, Michael? 'Cause I didn't read.
Yeah, really, this has been an ongoing conversation with Cherie, and Cherie has really been the person who has helped kind of manage the RFP process. Chartwell's is the player that came to work with us. They've been working with us, of course, and have been a great partner, and Cherie made the recommendation to me, and I agree with her recommendation that we continue our partnership with Chartwell's. Thanks for checking.
All right,
So moved.
so moved, second?
Second?
All right, so, hearing no further discussion, all those in favor of approving, RFP nutrition services, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. All right, motion passes. All right, so now we're moving to future, discussion of future agenda items. Does anyone have any items for future discussion? Mary Lou, anything?
No.
Nobody? Okay. All right, so we're moving on to correspondence. Do we have any correspondence?
No.
All right, no correspondence. All right, upcoming meetings. We have a board working session, Monday, May 13th, 2019, at 6:30. And then we have our board business meeting, Tuesday, May 28th, 2019, at 6:30. Board retiree recognition is at 6 p.m. Upcoming budget meetings. We have our second budget committee meeting, Wednesday, May 1st, 2019, at the boardroom at 6:30. And we also have an optional, if needed, third budget committee meeting Wednesday, May 15th, 2019, 6:30. Upcoming events, Parkrose District is closed in observance of Memorial Day, Monday, May 27th. And any other upcoming events that we missed, when we have the family dinner on Saturday. So, if no other additions, we are adjourned.